Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Simulation Football League Season 18 Rookie Draft. Hello to over 100 of you that have joined us here on Twitch. We've already got a hype train just about on the way, and there it is. We got a hype train going as we start off the first round of this season's draft. Welcome in. I'm Tyler Falk. I am joined by an esteemed host of colleagues. To my left is Mr. Arizona Everything, Eddie Gage, owner of the Arizona Scorpions, Hall of Famer. And down below, we have the commentators from yesterday's minor league championship, Ethan Muslin and Nate Hall. Let's start with the owner of the Arizona Scorpions. To my left, Mr. Eddie Gage. Eddie, hit it.
What up, though, SFL Nation? It's that time of year again. Free agency is upon us. Looking to see who goes where. A lot of trades going on, some last-minute trades, in fact. And it's an exciting time of the offseason, one of my personal favorites, and I just can't wait to see everything pans out.
And you mentioned right before the draft, we saw Las Vegas and Charleston shuffle a couple of trades left and right. There's been rumors of a few more going on in what promises to be the most explosive draft in recent memory here in the SFL. Let's move down to the two commentators in that championship game. We'll start with the play-by-play commentator, Ethan Muslin. Ethan, welcome to the show. Welcome to the draft. What a great night last night for football.
It was a great night, a very exciting game. Lexington just came up short by a score. They had a little bit of issues with their turnover differential. But, I mean, the Miners are a team that if they have most of their squad still in for next season, don't be surprised if they do a little bit better next time.
And with 88 picks on the board, we'll see plenty of those minor league rosters come off the board and go straight into the pros. And Nate, you were on color. You called a great game along with Ethan. What can you tell us? What had you most excited about that game, and how proud of you of each and every one of those players on the field?
Hey, Madison just put on a show yesterday, came out in the second half, made some adjustments, got some things going through the air, came away with their second championship. So congrats to the Lynx. But as I was doing some research on the draft that's taking place tonight, 14 teams in the SFL have the need for tight end, at least one tight end opening, and actually two SFL teams need a tight end period, because they don't have a single one on their roster currently. Those two teams are Las Vegas and Sioux Falls. So a lot of spots available for the tight ends. Interesting though that there's only 9 tight ends currently rostered on the minor league squads.
And plenty of spots for those tight ends to fill, as well as everyone who's joined us in the draft room tonight. All the minor leaguers hoping to get involved, along with front office staff and others that have joined us here tonight. We take a live look in at Mike All in Jacksonville, who leads the charge for those Kings. He's got a Mike's Hard Lemonade. There's Dr. Simeon right there from Houston. He leads the charge in Houston. Looks like we got Denver Nightwings, got some ownership over there coming in. That is Jeremy Vega, who joins us from Denver. He leads the charge over there. Plenty of more folks joined us tonight. They've all got their draft board set up. I believe that's Ramos, if I can tell through the haze of his Mexico City room right there. We've got, looks like words are hard, a little bit farther away, but we got another member joining us, Jack Brown joining us, new owner of the Charleston Predators joining us.
Thank you, Dave, the IFL. I appreciate that.
There's another one. All right, let's see. That's Deion Simeon, whose club is on the first overall pick. The Tulsa Desperados. He leads the charge over there, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Tulsa Desperados are officially now on the clock with the first overall pick in the draft. T-Roy Gaines joins us from Baltimore. A few other people joining us as well. Nate, we've got a lot of people joining us, a lot of friendly faces, a lot of front office staff. Which front office staff are you hoping makes the biggest impact here tonight?
I'd like to see Sioux Falls make a big impact tonight with their pick in the first round. They had Colin Hart in the offseason leave their squad and head to Louisiana. So they're going to need to fill that running back spot soon rather than later. So they need to make that they need to make a wave here in this first round in order to make that happen.
And speaking of Sioux Falls and running backs, we know Sioux Falls is definitely looking for running backs, maybe even in this first round. But, Eddie, we've got a lot of good talent at that running back spot. We know about Doug Brown. We know about Grand Prix GP Wells. And we, of course, all know about Randy Squarebush. Of those three guys, again, a couple of them were talked about, maybe GP Wells going to Tulsa. Who do you see going to Tulsa here with the first overall pick?
I'm going GP Wells myself. I know there's a few teams that I'm personally aware of that are interested in his services, but they're all keeping things close to the vest. And Dion, he doesn't really talk too much unless he's considering talking about owner retirement and things of that nature. So I don't know. He's keeping things close to the vest. But if I had to guess, considering the fact that Sonzo Robinson, their former bell cow, who was a power back, moved to wide receiver, my guess is they want to go with a change of philosophy and perhaps go to finesse back, which is why I'm thinking GP Wells.
That's a good take. And Ethlin, some of the mock drafts came out with maybe having Randy Fat III come off the board at O-line, which would be, I think, the first O-lineman ever to be drafted first overall. Do you agree with some of those pundits saying that a lone lineman should be picked first overall here for Tulsa?
I would absolutely agree, and that was kind of where I went on my mock draft. Having a lineman, I think, I'm more of a line-oriented person when it comes to choosing my players and things like that. When you've got someone like JQ, who's the highest salaried quarterback in the SFL among non-rookies, you've got to protect him. And now, don't get me wrong, they got Jason France and Jim Copeland Jr. on tight end, so you have a 2 tight end set. You can do some run blocking that way, but it don't mean to lick a spit unless you get yourself an O-line. And that's why in my mock draft, I got number 1 as Mitchell Witters from Madison.
That'd be a good take as well. Nate, we'll circle back to you as we took a look closer at Tulsa's offseason and their free agency. Only one free agent signing. That was the tight end Jim Copeland Jr. So they've got a total of 6 true wide receivers now on that squad in Tulsa. Surprisingly, especially for how young their defensive core is, no free agent acquisitions in the defensive front. Does that concern you maybe a little?
It doesn't really concern me. Over the last couple of seasons, defensive players have gone first overall in the draft, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Deion Hawkins get that first overall pick off the board with a defensive tackle to get them going early.
And only 2 true defensive tackles on the ball, one of them being Odette Boudreaux, who I think really impressed everybody, especially in the playoffs for Annapolis. Eddie, we go to you, and I'll ask you the same question. With Gabriel Manning over there in Tulsa, maybe leading up maybe a top-heavy, offensive-minded philosophy in Tulsa, do you think Deion might throw a change up and prove everybody wrong and go the defensive route?
But the first overall pick, I think he's going tailback. He has to. I mean, you don't lose a guy like Sonzo Robinson, who in my mind was one of the better power backs in the SFL. But just in my opinion, this wasn't used enough. So making a move like that, I mean, they're going 4 wide receivers. They got to lock up that tailback position, because otherwise people are just going to focus on stopping the pass.
Okay, and Ethan, we move to you with just over a minute remaining on the clock for those Desperados. If there's a surprise pick amongst everybody in the draft, maybe a dark horse candidate that could maybe take the number 1 spot, besides a running back, besides an O-lineman, who do you have your eye on tonight?
Ooh, that's a good choice, especially considering what Tulsa needs. I mean, looking at what they needed, according to what I had down here, they needed alignment, they need running back. They can literally take a running back anytime they want. There are so many running backs available, they don't even have to rush it. What they might want to do is maybe like we said, talk about getting a defensive tackle, complete that front 7. Possibly getting their nickel corner. I think the bigger one might be possibly just getting a kicker to get yourself some guaranteed points. I mean, we saw Brooke Beisel do a great job in the championship game and in the playoffs against Annapolis. That could be a possibility.
And ladies and gentlemen, the first pick of the draft is in. We will send it to Cameron Irvine for the first overall pick in Season 18's draft.
Good evening, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Cam. It's good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you as well. Rookie draft night, always sensational, and we are ready, over 200 people watching, to see who's going to get the number 1 overall pick. It is Tulsa's, and their pick is in. With the first pick of the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft, The Tulsa Desperados select Douglas Brown, running back. The second pick is Fort Worth's. You are on the clock via Sioux Falls.
So it's not GP Wells. It's not Randy Squarebush. It's one of the hosts of Simpod, Douglas Brown. He gets off the board, and it's a well-deserved pick. Impressed everybody at the convention. He is absolutely hyped right there. He has a celebratory beer.
That's amazing.
If you haven't checked out Simpod, that must be beer number probably 3 on the night, but you can see behind him the banner. He had everybody signed that was at the convention. Hats off to you, Douglas Brown. Eddie, we were both at the convention. We both got to meet this man in person. Tell me what you like about him.
I love him. The guy has great energy. As you said, he couldn't wait to get to the convention to meet everybody. I spoke to him a number of times, on his broadcast and things of that nature. Great guy. And I know he was so disappointed not getting drafted last year. I just kind of talked to him and said, hey, man, keep your head up, continue to get your value up. And with that show you guys have going on the Simpod, it was only a matter of time. And I was pretty confident he would get drafted this time around. And to have to wait all that time and get drafted number 1 overall has to be a special feeling for him.
He joins an elite club at that number 1 overall position. If I could bring up a sheet that Stephen Hacker, one of the gentlemen from Fort Worth who puts together our stats teams threw together. Xander Cole, Mitchell Moody, Mar Rivers, Johnny Pickler, David Harrell, Mike Ryan, and Leon Thunderman. Last couple of number 1 overall picks. Douglas Brown joins that list, and we move on to their pick. Nate, you can talk a little bit more about Douglas Brown, but we talk about Mr. Rain Man, Stephen Hacker there on the camera there. But what say you about Douglas Brown, and where do you think Fort Worth goes with their pick?
Boy, Douglas Brown, just a dynamic running back in this draft. I knew he was going to go early. I thought he might have gone to a different team, maybe a little bit down further, about 4th or 5th. But it's also proven me wrong, going with him early on the first pick overall. So congrats to Douglas Brown for sure on that first overall pick going to Tulsa. Fort Worth, though, they are in need of a quarterback. This may be the draft where offensive members go in the first round. We've seen a defensive-minded first round in previous seasons, teams going towards the defensive side of the ball in the first round. But this might be a different season. This might be a different route that these teams are going this year. Fort Worth is one of those teams that needs a quarterback. They also have a spot as a second tight end. So if I had to guess, though, at where Fort Worth might be going, I would look no further, though, than quarterback Scar Patterson.
And you mentioned that they need a quarterback. Cameron Curtis, who went from quarterback in the minor leagues to wide receiver in the pros for Fort Worth, then switched back to his primary position of quarterback. He retired, so they're definitely in need of a quarterback. I know a couple people in chat are throwing out maybe Usman to go off the board here. Ethan Muzzin, we go to you. Quarterback is definitely a need for Fort Worth. There's only 2 teams that need a starting quarterback in the SFL. And it's really up to them. They could force the other team who escapes me, who needs a quarterback. I believe it's
San Diego.
San Diego. Thank you. I believe it's San Diego to maybe jump on the board and grab their guy in case Fort Worth doesn't go quarterback. If they don't go quarterback, that gives San Diego an opportunity to put all the pressure on them, I would say, and maybe pick a quarterback. Ethan, let's go to you. Do they go quarterback or do they wait a little bit?
I think they might wait a little bit. And this is another situation where you have all the time in the world to take your quarterback. In theory, you could wait until your absolute last pick to make it and just budget everything around that. But at the same time, you're also wanting to make sure that, you want to make sure that how much cap hit you're going to get from your quarterback. Because, at this point, you're either going to be taking Scar Patterson or you're going to be taking Johnny Reno. Those are the 2 higher value players right now. So do you play a game? Does Fort Worth play a game of chicken with San Diego to wait until they get their next pick? Or do they just fire it off now and get the quarterback position and then just build around that?
And Eddie, let's go to you. You've been through this league for a very long time. You know how these drafts typically work here in the SFL, not like a regular draft you'd see maybe in the NFL or the NBA. This draft is its own type of uniqueness because of how the league is set up. Does Fort Worth, you see that young ownership group with Fort Worth taking their quarterback with the second overall pick?
They made a trade late this week. You don't move up one spot and not take a quarterback in this situation. They have a guy in mind that they want, and I believe that they spend that pick after giving away so much of a valuable position in the second round to move down so many spots and trade up one spot. I think they're going quarterback.
And they do have 8 picks to do it. They are the team with the most picks in the draft, and for the last 2 seasons, that's been Houston with 8 picks. So Houston breathing a sigh of relief as their division rivals, have to take as many picks instead of having to maybe use the free agency. And they did indeed use the free agency and pick up a couple of solid guys. Nacho Sicario comes back; he's back at his cornerback spot, but the one move I think that will really help, especially their offensive consistency, is Mike Twinscrew from Louisiana. Nate, let's talk about Twinscrew real quick and how he would possibly use his new starting quarterback to great success.
Yeah, Twinscrew is just an overall genius as far as coaching goes. He was on the same team as I was on Madison in season 1 of that Madison's first championship out of their 2 they have now. So he would definitely find a way to use that the running back to his advantage, both in the running and passing game. He's just a mastermind when it comes to that.
Real quickly, Ethan, let's go to you. If it's not a quarterback, where do you go?
Well, they've got themselves a couple of choices to make. They do need to rebuild their front 7 on defense. So you could see them maybe picking a third linebacker, maybe filling in the front line there on defense maybe a defensive end. If they might want to go, may have to consider their offensive scheme if they're going to go 4 wider with 2 tight ends. So. But the way I had it on my board, I had them picking someone to protect their new quarterback, so I had them, again, going on the line.
And the definition of sailing it through as the clock hits 000 is the pick is in for Fort Worth, and we go back to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, with the second pick.
Thanks, Tyler. With the second pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select Johnny Reno, quarterback. The third pick, that's Sioux Falls via Fort Worth. You are now on the clock.
Johnny Reno goes to Fort Worth, and it's not Scar Patterson. It's Reno that gets off the board as we take a live look in at Johnny Reno. He's ready. He's almost dressed up in Vancouver colors, which is kind of surprising. But if you turn it a different way, it's Fort Worth. And so we move on to Nate Hall. Talk to us a little bit about Johnny Reno. What impressed you as he went through his last couple of seasons?
Johnny Reno could just do everything. He's got a strong arm. He can, he can look a defender off the ball and throw it completely elsewhere. Just a tough quarterback, and happy that he was taken here in this first round by Fort Worth. Confused me there at first. I thought I was looking at Andy instead of Johnny Reno, but great pick for them, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do for the Toros. Being in the same league as the Glory, look forward to seeing him this season as they're one of our division foes.
Eddie Gage, gunslinger, is probably one of the best terms to describe Reno. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Well, I've seen a couple of his games late. I didn't get a chance to see all of his action because I was in the playoffs. But from what I did see him, he was definitely one of the higher performing quarterbacks in this league. And you can see why, hearing these highlights, why Fort Worth stuck their neck out, trading up one spot to pick him up.
And Ethan, one last take on Johnny Reno from you. The Tacoma product gets his spot, and it's picked 2 into Fort Worth.
And I think this is a fantastic pick. Reno was probably one of the best quarterbacks in the pocket. During the last season, he was only picked 10 times, one of the lowest in SFLM, and only got sacked 13 times. Again, lowest in SFLM. So he's got himself good awareness to, avoid turnovers, avoid tackles for loss, his completion rating is very good. I think he'll be a very good fit for Fort Worth.
Unless we see something crazy, San Diego will not have to worry about picking their quarterback until much later in the draft. They should be able to maybe focus in on, wait on a couple other needs before they go ahead and pick their quarterback here in the draft. Sioux Falls switched places with Fort Worth, and they're now on the clock with the number 3rd pick. And let's go to Eddie Gage here for Sioux Falls. And for Sioux Falls, again, Colin Hart, probably the lifeblood of that franchise for so many seasons. It's going to be maybe a definite change of pace without having Hart in the backfield. Running back already taken off the board in Douglas Brown. Now do we see maybe another dynamic running back going to the fold? Do we see Squarebush come off the board here?
I think this is where he goes. If he goes anywhere, it's going to be Sioux Falls, in my opinion. They've had Colin Hart, like you said, on their roster for several seasons. I was kind of surprised to see him go, but he's been there. He's like a staple of that offense. When you think of that offense, you think of Colin Hart. But now that he's gone, they have to fill that position of need. It's something needed to address here in the first round, in my opinion. I think he goes off the board here, and I think it's going to be Randy Squarebush. He's a similar type back as Colin Hart, and I think they fill that position with yet another similar type back in Randy Squarebush.
And a couple other pieces came into Sioux Falls, and Sioux Falls has a lot of players to pick this upcoming season. Not as many as Fort Worth, but they've got quite a few, Nate, to go through. Running back, one of them. They've got no tight ends on the roster as of yet. They have 3 defensive linemen currently. Ray West came into the fold at defensive tackle in free agency. If it's not running back, where do you go if you're the Sparrows?
Well, you said it. They don't have a single tight end on their roster. So if they don't go running back and pick Squarebush up right here, I would say they would pick up Scott Fowl from Madison as tight end right here off the board, being only a limited number of tight ends available in this year's draft. If they don't go running back, they might wait till later on in this draft to pick up a running back, as there are a few more to choose from. So yeah, I would say look for either running back or tight end here in this situation.
And I agree that Scott Fell would be a fantastic pickup from the champions in Madison at tight end, a fantastic product from Wisconsin. Ethan, let's go to you. Sioux Falls, last couple seasons, actually, ever since season 16, this team has been just failed to take off, is probably one of the ways to describe the Sparrows. They've been used to having a dynamic run first, pass second mentality and a dynamic power football style of play. And then the defense has always been pretty good. And last couple seasons, we've seen it be okay, but definitely not the type of Sioux Falls where we've become accustomed to here in the league. What pick or who do they take that maybe changes their fortunes here for Sioux Falls with this pick?
Well, let's see. I would say looking at how they were, Sioux Falls ended up giving up about 25 points a game in the last season. They're probably gonna, if they need to fill up their defense, their secondary is very good. Their secondary is filled up. They're good. They're all set. But their front seven still has some holes that needs to be filled. So maybe go with someone like an Adrian Blaine into linebacker. That might not be a bad idea. I do agree that tight end is an absolute necessary position for Sioux Falls. They have to get a tight end somewhere along the way. They've got to figure somebody out. I do agree. Scott Fowle's a good choice there. I might also consider Caesar Ackerman or Kyle Storm. Both of them were very good on the tight end position. But I think they might consider holding off on the running back spot, maybe fill up something on the defense before they pull that trigger.
All first of these 3 teams, gentlemen, have yet to draft a contracted kicker. Axel Raven in chat says they might go that way, and the name that springs to mind, Eddie, is Brooke Beisel.
He's muted.
Yeah, I'm gonna give old Dave access.
Yourself, bud.
You're muted, bro. Eddie, you're still muted. Oh, we get 2. Do we have anybody with a couple of you muted stickers over there in chat? Come on, guys. Come on, Eddie.
Come on, guy.
Third time's a charm. Come on, Eddie. No, still. Well, let's hope Eddie can figure out his mic.
Eddie's
issues.
speechless, ladies and gentlemen.
That's probably it. Nate, let's go to you. Brooke Beisel at kicker comes to mind for me. Let's give your take real quick before we go to the pick.
Yeah, kicker is Brooke Beisel at kicker is a very dynamic choice here for obvious reasons. She is a top pick in my opinion when it comes to the kicker spot. But let's see who they get here.
Cam, I gotta ask you, the Commissioner Cam and Irvine, did you put Eddie in the shadow realm or something like that? The third overall pick is in.
No, I thought I did there initially. I was a little concerned. I thought I must have done something, but I think Eddie's just got his A's confused. He's got, I think that's the wrong A on the shirt, Eddie. But anyway, we'll get him situated momentarily. With the third overall pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select G.P. Wells, running back, the fourth pick of tonight. That's you, DC. You're on the clock.
Grand Prix Wells, a speedster, is off the board and he goes to Sioux Falls. It's a definite change of pace for the Sparrows. Ethan, let's go to you.
It's a good pick. It's about the same value as Randy Squarebush, and I think it's probably going to be a sign that perhaps Sioux Falls might be going more towards a hybrid running back here. Looking at how GP Wells did last season, 197 carries, 1,216 yards, averaging about 6.2 a carry on the ground, averaged 3.6 in the air with 85 receptions. This is a good pick. I think this might be a sign that Sioux Falls might be going more towards maybe leaning more towards the pass offense, maybe putting Julian Tyree into a more leadership position to try and go in towards a more West Coast offense. So this is a good job. Great pick.
Nate, let's move over to you. GP Wells off the board, the longtime stalwart over in Memphis. He goes northwest over to South Dakota. What say you on Sioux Falls' first overall pick?
I am very surprised that they chose GP Wells. I was selecting him to be either fourth or fifth running back off the board. I thought Squarebush or even Brad Jones might have gone earlier. However, they're still on the board at this point. The only other team on this list of teams that need running back on their squad is Houston. So that's one spot for two guys that they're going to try to be going to this to a major league team, or else they might be on the outside looking in this year. So we'll have to see what happens in a few picks from now. But definitely surprised. But congratulations to him, GP Wells, on getting that selection and going to the Sioux Falls Sparrows.
And we'll send it to Eddie. We'll try Eddie for a fourth time. Eddie, do we got your mic situation all figured out?
I hope so. How you like me now?
There we go. Very loud and clear. We love it here. Good to have you back, Eddie. Let's go to you. GP Wells comes off the board and goes to Sioux Falls.
Great player, but I'm shocked because they've been known to be a power back rushing offense for the past several seasons. So to see them go a finesse pack, as you said, change of pace now, trying to get things settled and get their offense back on track since losing the championship game.
It's been like a tailspin from there. They went from being in the championship game to now having the third overall pick, and before the trade, they were second overall in terms of the draft order. And so maybe GP Wells can change their fortunes and maybe send them on the right track. We move now on to the DC Dragons, and they're on the clock with the fourth pick as the time continues to tick. Nate, let's go to you and what you feel is DC's biggest need. Now, I don't think they're going running back, so we could probably talk maybe defensive is probably the way to go. What say you, Nate Hall?
DC Dragons is going to go defense here. They have a lot of holes on that defense. They have linebacker spots, cornerback spots to fill in this draft. Even have a defensive end spot. So if I had to guess, though, it'd either be one of two players, either linebacker Isabella Blackwell or cornerback Terrence Pearson, as the two that I had guessed when I was making my notes.
Ethan, let's go to you for DC. And Nate mentioned linebacker spots. They only have one linebacker currently on the roster. If you're going a linebacker, Who impressed you most over the course of this past season?
I think the best choice and the one I put in my mock draft for DC, I think we're kind of in agreement. That DC needs a linebacker. They got to fill out the three spots at the very least. Maybe go for a fourth one if they're going to go for a 3-4 defense, unless they want to maybe go for a defensive end or something like that. But the person who impressed me the most in terms of a linebacker position was Bogey Barr, and that was the person I had put down for DC specifically. 17 tackles for loss. That is the big key right there. You want to have a linebacker who can consistently prevent offenses from gaining significant yardage. And I think given Bogey Barr's performance this last season in SFLM, he's the choice.
Bogey Barr, the man out of Salt Lake City, who led that linebacking core, who led more of a defensive-minded linebacking core, or defensive-minded team in general for Salt Lake City. Eddie, let's go to you. Bogey Barr is a solid pick. Nate Hall thinking Terrence Pearson in the corner. From your time being able to scout maybe late on the season, again, as teams go down the stretch, we see a lot more training, a lot more progression from players there's a lot of players that catch your eye, but as far as how DC is set up, who do you go with here?
I think they have to go linebacker. There are a ton of them in this draft, but only so many of them have, any kind of significant value. And if I know their organization the way I think they do, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this man's name right, I think they go with Declan O'Rourke, the linebacker out of Ottawa. Great ball player. He seems to be at the right place at the right time. Every time I saw him play, and if I'm DC, that's where I'm going.
Is it Declan O'Rourke? Is it Ethan agreeing? Is Terrence Pearson the way to go? Is Bogey Barr the way to go? The only man who knows currently is Commissioner Cameron Irvine. Let's shoot it back to him with the fourth pick.
Eddie's mic may be on the fritz, but not his mind. With the fourth pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the DC Dragons select Declan O'Rourke, linebacker. Fifth pick, that's Louisiana by way of Jacksonville. You're on the clock.
Eddie Gage reading minds over here. Eddie, you called it. Go ahead and take it away.
He's a ball player. I mean, like I said, I didn't catch SFLM games until towards the end of the season because I was in the playoffs myself. But every time you watch that team, he was out there making plays. I mean, he didn't make too many splash plays, but he was consistent in his performance. And he was just flying around. He is going to have to be the top dog right out the gate. But he can help that team defensively because they missed a number of games winning them by one-score margins. And they've had several fourth-quarter losses, just when they were hanging on with a fourth-quarter lead and just couldn't quite keep it. And I think he's going to help that organization tremendously in that regard.
And the one thing that's really impressed me, Eddie, especially when the team reemerged in the league a few seasons ago, they had a whole lot of rookies, and Destro and company were able to manufacture a solid team, and that team only continues to get better. So I think Declan O'Rourke going to DC, I think that's a dangerous spot for DC. That, I believe it's the North, they call it over there, is going to be in a lot of trouble with DC just getting another valuable piece. Ethan, you are on the right track with linebacker. Declan O'Rourke goes off the board in DC. What say you?
It's absolutely the right choice. To be honest, I had Declan O'Rourke going to Denver a couple picks later, so this is right on line with where I kind of thought they were both going to go. Declan O'Rourke did a great job with Ottawa, and he only had a few fewer tackles for loss compared to Bogey Barr, but still consistent in pass deflections. Got an interception, forced a fumble. He's got what he needs to be a good linebacker for DC. This is a great pickup.
And Nate, let's talk about Louisiana now. They get pick number 5 here in the draft, and being my alma mater at the moment with Mike Ryan over there in the Bayou in Louisiana, I think I know what's coming around, and I think it's going to surprise some people. But Nate, what say you? Where does Louisiana need to go here in this first round?
I think they go wide receiver here. They do have an opening for a third wide receiver. I think they take him off the board, and if I were to guess, I would say maybe Mike Savage from Madison, wide receiver, would be going here. They do have an opening also for a second tight end, so maybe somebody like DJ Bandit might go here as well.
And Eddie, let's go to you. DJ Bandit, name thrown out there by Nate. A couple of needs here for the Revolution. They have their quarterback in Tommy Utah already on the squad here. Let's see. Why can't I see Louisiana? That's probably why. Scroll over. Wide receiver, offensive line, maybe a nickel back after the loss of Doug Day as he went back into the minor league to become a wide receiver. Where does Louisiana go here?
If Louisiana picks up a receiver, it's going to be wide receiver Dougie Day. But I think they're going to wait until later to potentially pick him up because of his value. And they're going to hope and pray that everyone slides on him. I think with the trade they just made, they made that trade for a reason. And if I know Gerald the way I think I know him in that offense, they want to ground and pound the football. And I know they just picked up Colin Hart, but I think they may be the first team to actually have two tailbacks on the roster. That's where I'm going.
Okay, Eddie Gage calling two tailbacks. Ethan Muslin, do you agree with the thinking of what he was already dubbed in chat, the Oracle?
I'm about to say maybe we should just go ahead and burn the Warlock at this point. But going with a 2 run back set is a very interesting concept and could provide a good double threat in the backfield. I kind of agree with Nate that DJ Bandit's a good tight end spot for Louisiana. I had them going. Let's see, where did I have them? I did have them going wide receiver here in the first round with a pick of Israel Adams. So that, and they do need to get a third wide receiver. That might be the way for them to go. And I also agree they need to get a nickel back. They'll have to get that at some point. And that all of those are good possibilities. Louisiana pretty much has their pick of the litter. They can pick a third wide, they can pick a third corner, a second tight end, they can pick a line. Those are all the things that's available to them. That's all the things they need.
Mighty in chat asking does Louisiana have the cap space for another running back? And right now they're sitting at 1561 as far as their total salary goes. They have just over 200 in salary cap remaining. And so I think they have maybe just enough to get another running back. It would be a little dicey. Whoever they pick at running back might have to go that direction. Well, the pick from Louisiana is in. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who is coming off the board here at pick number 5? Cameron Irvine with the call.
Eddie's the loudest typer I've ever known.
Oh, he doesn't know anything about that yet.
It's vicious over there. With the 5th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select Randy Squarebush, running back. 6th pick, Denver. What? You're on the clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest pick of the draft. I'm a little biased, you could probably tell. But the biggest pick, probably the most dynamic player in the minor league this past season, Randy Squarebush comes off the board. He's going down to partner Colin Hart in the backfield. Eddie Gage, you're 2 for 2 on the night.
I can tell you one thing. The moment that Sioux Falls did not draft this young man, Louisiana and Gerald eyes lit up because they like those power backs as well. They may have had Reggie Street with some finesse back, but they want to give you a combination of ground and pound, whether it be through the outside, up the gut, up the A-gap, whatever the case may be. They're tuning in for what's to come in future SFL seasons. I can't quite talk about it, but they're preparing themselves for the future, and it starts here with this pick.
Randy Squarebush, the man who set the SFL-M single game rushing record, single touchdown rushing record in the minor league, came close to breaking the all-time SFL record, is off the board to Louisiana. Nate Hall, this man is dangerous.
Dangerous is an understatement, Tyler. This guy can do it all. Swing him out in the flats. He'll catch passes and run downfield. He can also power you over with his running game. He can follow his blockers all day. He can find the openings. He can turn on the jets when need be after he gets past this second level of defense. Just this guy is so dynamic, and Louisiana's got a serious weapon on their hands that they're going to try to impose their will on their opponents this season.
Ethan, you probably had the biggest reaction out of all of us, the most vocal reaction. We'll go to you real quick. Randy Squarebush to Louisiana. Who saw that coming?
Honestly, I did not see this coming at all. This was, I swear, Eddie, I'm gonna find a steak and I'm gonna put it right through your heart, buddy. Oh my God, what a great prediction there from Eddie. Randy Squarebush, a beast of a running back. You pair him up with Colin Hart, you have an absolute ground and pound run game. It's gonna be they're gonna if they get another tight end for run blocking, they get a lineman for run blocking, they will be unstoppable on the ground.
And Nate, we'll go back to you as we now transition to Denver, a team that's going to have to face Louisiana this season. So far, it's been heavily offense. 5 picks gone, 4 for the offense. Only Declan O'Rourke for DC being the lone defensive selection. Does DC add to that defensive collection to maybe balance out what has, at the end of the tail end of season 17 really became a solid team?
Yeah, they do need a linebacker on their squad, but I think the trend continues here. I think they go tight end in this situation, keep the theme going with offensive mindset. They do have a tight end need on their squad for a second tight end. Scott Fowle wasn't taken earlier by Sioux Falls, so I think Scott Fowle goes off the board right here with his pick.
Nate, Nate, we just talked to you. Thank you. Eddie, let's go back to you. Nate thinks it's another run, another offensive position. Eddie, what do you say as being you're already 2 for 2 in the last couple of picks? You better give us 3 for 3 right here.
Well, I'm going to disagree with this pick, although it is a smart one. I think, you're going to see multiple teams going with 2 tight end sets. However, Denver just lost Gene Bonazzi, who was on their offensive line. He moved to the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to go with the offensive lineman here, and I'm surprised that none has been taken yet. If I'm Denver, I'm going with an offensive lineman here.
The 3 true offensive linemen, I should say, still on the board.
Correct.
Mitchell Winters, Randy Fatt III, who some thought would go first overall to Tulsa, and Moose Mitchell from Boise. They're all still on the board. And if Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, but some defensive linemen here in the minor league can switch to offensive linemen if the team and the player both agree to do so.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Ethan, let's go to you real quick for Denver's pick. Eddie thinks offensive lineman. Nate thinks Scott Fowle, the tight end from Madison. What say you?
I have to agree with Eddie. Offensive line would be a great spot here. Get some decent protection for Price and for O'Shaughnessy. That would be a great way to go. You have all 3 available on the board. If you're thinking offensive line, Mitchell Winters would be a good spot. The way I had it set up, I had them taking Jared Patrice, having him swap over. But this would be a decent amount of cap space to do it just to go for the straight offensive line. This also could be a possibility for Bogey Barr as well, because remember, they still need their 3rd linebacker to fill out their front 7. This might be a good spot for him as well.
And of course, we have everybody here joining us live on camera. We have a lot of people over in the draft room, and we have everybody, 244 of you joining us here in Twitch chat. That's incredible. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening for another fantastic draft here on the SFL. And just like that, Denver has their pick in to the Commissioner Cameron Irvine. And let's send it to him with Denver's pick.
Eddie, Art Vandelay wants to know what he's having for dinner next Tuesday. Did you see that in the chat? No. You got to answer for him?
Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't know.
There it is. Art, we'll see you at Buffalo Wild Wings. With the 6th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Denver Nightwings select Randy Fatt III, offensive lineman. 7th pick, that's San Diego. You are on the clock.
Eddie Gage, what did you have for breakfast? I gotta ask. What did you have for breakfast? Randy Fatt III. He doesn't go first overall. He goes to Denver. Eddie, you hit it right on the head again. Just you maybe should just take my job at this point. Go ahead. Go for it.
As an owner, I have my hand in a lot of areas on the team, and general manager is one of them, even though I have 2 great ones, and Ashley and DJ. But I like to know what's going on, and so I do my due diligence to check around the league to see what teams are going to want. We did, in fact, interview Randy, but like I told him, I says, "Dude, you're going to be long gone by the time we draft, and I'm unable to move up. But good luck and congratulations, you know." But I saw this coming because in their championship days, Denver had two, a left guard and a right guard, and they benefited mightily from having them, you know, running up the A gap all game long. And this was no surprise to me.
Nate Hall, let's go to you. Randy Fat the third comes off the board, goes to Denver, just like Eddie said they would. What can you tell us about this guy?
Definitely a nice offensive lineman, able to move the defenders around, making holes for the running back to run through, able to provide the protection needed for his quarterback. So the Denver quarterback will have a nice pocket back there to throw the ball this coming season. Just a great dynamic overall offensive lineman for this squad.
And Ethan Muslin, Nate Hall said creating a good pocket for Eric Price to throw for. And with Gene Benazzi going to the defensive line, getting Randy Fat in there was probably the biggest need on the board for Denver. And that's exactly what they went with.
Absolutely, it was absolutely what they needed. They got to start balancing out that front line, and you know they've got Jeremy Mosley on tight end, so you have a little bit of run blocking. But adding Randy Fat is a good way to get some additional protection for both the quarterback and the running back. This is a good way to provide a good balanced attack for the Denver offense.
And now we move to San Diego, and the San Diego squad have really started to come into their own. Liam Hammer came into that club and really turned things around. They got their first win in franchise history as we take a live look in the draft room for San Diego. Eddie, let's go back to you for San Diego. What can the Mavericks do here at pick number 7?
Well, I mean, they paid their wide receiving core handsomely to start the season. I mean, just going up and down that roster, just looking at it. Gunnar Lewis, Liam Hammer, who, I mean, he paid himself rather handsomely. Optimus Klein, his co-owner, he's just sort of 100. They have 3 stud wide receivers, but no one to throw the ball to them. They lost their quarterback to retirement. He went over to Denver's front office this past offseason. I think they go quarterback here because, I mean, why not? I mean, they're pretty stacked on defense, just looking across the board, and they picked up Bill Cherry from St. Louis to play tight end, moving from fullback. So I think they go quarterback here.
And Ethan, Eddie mentioned that Optimus Klein, who's back over at wide receiver, he played tight end for the first 2 seasons in in San Diego before going back to his original spot. I think that's probably the biggest point of emphasis is that Optimus is back playing in his natural position, giving their wide receiver core a huge boost. But now wide receivers pretty much set. Where do you go if you're Liam Hammer and company?
So I think you can probably wait 1 round to pick your quarterback. You've got plenty of time. You're the only team that really needs one. As far as I can tell, yeah, so Fort Worth took theirs, so no one else needs another quarterback. So you can kind of like I said, you can kind of build your team around what you want to pay your quarterback. So if they want to go for someone like Scar Patterson, they might want to go for they might want to pick him in the 2nd round. Maybe pick again, Brooke Beisel is still available. They need a kicker. They might want to go that route, and then maybe in the 2nd round pick up Scar Patterson, and then just build the team around that.
And Nate, we'll go back to you here with Randy Squarebush, coming off the board and being a 2nd running back spot over in Louisiana. Does that maybe give cause for concern now at the quarterback spot for San Diego?
I don't think so. I think the San Diego squad is going to go with their quarterback. Eddie had talked about it already. They paid their wide receivers very well this offseason, so they are definitely got their eyes set on that passing game with their picks in this draft. And I think they look no further than maybe somebody like Scar Patterson or maybe even Xander Moon from Madison.
Well, Scar Patterson being the most developed quarterback left on the board. Xander Moon leading his squad in Madison, to the championship just hours prior to the draft. What a way to go out, especially in the Coliseum in St. Louis. Eddie, we'll go back up to you here one last time before we get to San Diego's pick momentarily. Quarterback, maybe not a huge concern at the moment. Let's get your take. You said probably not wide receiver. The wide receiving core is pretty well good. Off a left field prediction, maybe.
I mean, he made a great point. They're the only team left needing a quarterback. Me personally, I want my quarterback to feel comfortable and get it out the way, draft him. But I understand, you want to fill team needs and get other positions. But you also have to keep in mind that teams may be building for the future, and they may want to draft a guy haven't seen on the bench because they know their quarterback is going to retire in the coming season or two. You never know. So if it's me, I'm picking up a quarterback. But looking across their roster, I mean, they could go maybe a second tight end. They could also go offensive lineman. And with only 2 left on the board, 2 natural offensive linemen, perhaps that's the move I make if it's not a quarterback.
San Diego finished the season on a big winning streak. They won 3 out of the last 5 games after knocking off a certain club who I will not mention for an owner's sake who sits next to me on my left. But San Diego finished the season strong. They had come in with 4 wins. Do they add to it, and how do they add to it with this player here at pick number 7? We go to the SFL Commissioner Cameron Irvine with pick number 7 in the draft.
Thank you, Tyler. Hey, Ethan, people want to know if those are boats on your wall.
Oh, these things?
Yeah.
That's just shelving.
Okay, well, there you go. Not boats for those in the chat.
I do not own a buoyancy-operated aquatic transport.
Maybe get your eyes checked out there. It's important. It's important to be able to see. Hey, for those out there that are new to the Simulation Football League, how these people create their players, visit simulationfl.net. Click the Create a Player tab for more information. With the 7th overall pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the San Diego Mavericks select Lottie Lou, wide receiver.
Wow.
8th pick. That's Carolina. You're on the clock.
Wow.
The Shockers continue here in the draft. Lottie Lou comes off the board from Salt Lake City. There's my wide receiver, I should say, former wide receiver. He goes to the Mavericks. My goodness, what a good pickup. I think he's a good character pickup. One of the nicest guys you will meet in the minor league in this day and age. Nate Hall, talk to us a little bit about Lottie. I could go on and on about this guy.
Yeah, this guy is so dynamic. He can run his route so crisp and clean. Just running past those secondary defenders, breaking open, good ball catcher, able to corral that ball. Just overall great dynamic wide receiver. He can also throw a block or 2 downfield for their running back. So definitely a stacked guy. Got themselves a weapon there in the Mavericks.
Ethan, let's go to you. Lottie Lou, good guy, fantastic guy, great player. Came in after A Sharp left the minor league. He slotted into that number 1 spot fairly well, and San Diego sees a lot of potential in this kid. What say you?
I would agree. He's got a lot of great potential. As you said, a great character, great guy. Looking strictly on the stats side, he's very good. 43 out of 74. So, work on the catch a little bit. He'll be fine. Nothing to worry about there. But averaging 11 yards a catch, very good for getting. If you want to get a guaranteed first down, he's definitely someone to go to. Plus, you're providing a 4th offensive weapon for your quarterback, whoever that might be. Hoping it's Scar Patterson, because he's the best one available. But giving your future quarterback a lot more offensive weapons to choose from is a great way to go. And I think this is good. This is going to really help out San Diego.
Eddie, they threw you for a loop. They pay their wide receivers pretty nicely, but they got to pay 1 more now.
They have to pay 1 more now. On a side note, I don't know if San Diego, plays London this season, but that would be a shootout probably if they do. But yeah, Lottie Lou, as you said, he's a great character. I saw his interview with Ashley, and the guy is so excited, man. He just would not stop smiling. I think he's from South Carolina. Great kid. He talked about his progression plan, how he had a plan in place to make his player. as well as he can make them. He also wants to coach next season in the minors. So you can tell he has that drive, and he's really passionate about the SFL. And San Diego has gotten one of the most exciting players in this league. And I know that once he joins that locker room, it's going to be lit up in there.
San Diego get another fantastic pickup as we move on to Carolina. They're on the clock. They had Clint Hendershot, I believe, leave the squad, join a different club. And now as we take a look at Harish Prasad in the Carolina war room, as he starts to talk to his next pick, Nate, let's go to you for Carolina and what you feel they need here at pick number 8.
Well, they don't need a whole lot. They've only got one spot available in this draft. It's their only pick this draft, and this is it for them. They do have opening for fullback. They also do have an opening for an offensive lineman. So with that being said, maybe somebody like Katori Hanzo might come off the board here, or Toraneo Rivera. Hopefully I said his name right. Might come off the board here as well. But if they're going to look for offensive linemen, maybe they pick up Mitchell Witters from Madison.
A lot of people are saying fullback. Ashley Jackson saying Hattori Hanzo. It looks to be a consensus from chat. It looks to be a consensus from Nate. Ethan,
I have to agree. It's so far 2-0 over here. I had Carolina's only pick going to Hattori Hanzo. I do agree. I do agree with Nate. Lineman is a need on the offense, but looking at everything else, their front seven is all set. Their secondary set. They've got a punter. They have a kicker. They've got 3 wide and 2 tight ends. They have nothing else they really need. So it's like you get Hanzo on the fullback, or you can grab a Mitchell Winters or Moose Mitchell if you really want to. But I think everyone's in agreement. It's going to be Hanzo.
And Carolina loves to play the swing pass game. They love to play the screen game. Eddie, adding a fullback just as an extra blocker out there. We saw how dynamic it was in the minor league, especially this past season with a developed halfback or developed fullback, I would say. Eddie, real quick before we shoot it over to the commissioner, is it Hanzo? If not, who do they go with?
It's a foregone conclusion that it's going to be Hanzo. He was the offensive coordinator last season, somewhere around week 8 or week 9, something like that. He was drafted. He came into the league through Carolina, got reunited with them this past off season. He's also their offensive coordinator this past season. He's going to continue that this season. So unless he decides to be a team player and says, hey, I'll retire my player, we can just draft an offensive lineman, the choice is clear here. It's going to be Hanzo.
All right, let's go to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine. Is it Hattori Hanzo? Drum roll, please.
With the 8th pick in the SFL Season 18 winter draft, rookie draft, the Carolina Skyhawks select Jimmy. I just wanted to see the reactions from the pick. Hattori Hanzo, fullback. Pick 9, Houston is on the clock. When we come back, you're watching the SFL Rookie Draft.
Welcome back to the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft. Tyler Falk, Eddie Gage, Easton Muslin, and Nate Hall all joining you to break down everything that's gone on. We've seen a couple of crazy picks, one pick that probably surprised no one, and only one defensive selection. This is a completely different type of draft that we've seen so far. Eddie, let's go to you. Do the expanded rosters maybe have something to do with that?
Yeah, of course. Cam and I alluded to it during the Pro Bowl. I mean, you could just see how having so much talent on the field at the same time, how it could impact the league and make scoring, such a difficult task. Gone are the days of just being able to march up and down the field back when we had 12 players, and then we saw it expand again, and we went to 20 players, and we saw how scoring can be impacted. And now with 23, I mean, there's just no telling where this league is going to go. And we as coaches are going to have to do a much better job of going out here scouting and getting our teams ready, because it's just going to be a challenge in both scoring and, defending the pass, defending, offensive teams. So I'm excited about what this is going to do for the league, because I think better days are ahead because of it.
And Nate, let's go to you. As Houston is on the clock with the 9th pick here in the draft. Houston, for the last 2 seasons, we're looked at as a team that maybe couldn't keep everybody on the same squad, and thankfully for DR Sim and company, it's very impressive and very good to see DR keeping everybody, or mostly everybody, back on the squad. They only have 2 picks, as where the past 2 drafts combined they had 16 picks.
Yeah, they did bring a lot of their players back, so that he'll be happy for that. Just looking over what they need, those still on their roster. They do need that running back spot still to be filled by a minor league player, or they may go defense here and maybe shore up that secondary with a second free safety or strong safety. So with that being said, Squarebush is already off the board. I would say maybe Brad Jones here in this situation for Houston, or if they were looking to go for that secondary player, maybe they pick up somebody like Gary D. Gond, or maybe Travis Arthur here comes off the board.
All right, Ethan, let's move on to you and where you feel, and maybe everything is lining up for your mock draft to go the way it was, especially for Houston. What do you have on Houston?
So Houston's got a bit of a dilemma on their hands, because they only have about 100 and, if I'm doing my math right, 154 in cap space. So they don't have much available to them. They have 2 picks, but they have to be very concise with what they do here. What I had done in my mock draft, I had them taking Ja'Cory Ray in the first round, the punter from Memphis. Have him, you take him, that leaves you about 111 or so to negotiate with for a running back. I don't know if Brad Jones would want to play on a 110 when he's a 120 value, so that might be a possibility to look at. If they can't figure that out, they might go for someone like Marcus Duncan from Madison. He would be a good value pick for Houston there.
And you read my mind, Brad Jones, the highest rated member of the entire minor league at 120 as far as his overall contract value in the league. Eddie, real quickly, where you're going? If it's going to be a halfback, it might have to be someone that's maybe not Brad Jones.
Well, Damon loves finesse backs. As much as we talk about how hard it is to defend power backs, he loves the finesse back, and they're gone. The higher value ones are gone. Brad Jones is left on the board, but he has a high value, and as Ethan just alluded to, they only have so much cap space left. So if they do pick him up, they're likely going to have to renegotiate some contracts that they've already made with some of their players to make that deal work, unless they can convince Brad to take a pay cut himself. And those are conversations they're going to have to get that figured out. But if I'm Houston, I'm probably taking Brad Jones anyway. I know he's a balanced back, so he's not the type of back that they necessarily prioritize, but they can always move him around as the seasons progress. So we'll see what they do.
So maybe a theme of crunching numbers in Houston. We go to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, for pick number 9 here in season 18.
With the 9th pick in the SFL season 18 rookie draft, the Houston Hyenas select Brad Jones, running back.
Okay.
Portland is on the clock with the 10th pick.
So
All
a
right,
massive
then.
chunk of that remaining salary is going to Brad Jones, who, for all intents and purposes, played very well this season, maybe overshadowed a little bit by Randy Squarebush, but nonetheless, Ethan Muslin, he had himself a very fantastic senior campaign in the minors.
Absolutely. He had himself a really good run here. He had from 188 carries, 1,063 yards on the ground. He averages 5.7 on carries, 5 yards per reception. The one thing I might be concerned about, he did lose 2 fumbles, but that's something that can be easily remedied over the course of the season. Nothing really too much to worry about there. The one thing that I do love about Brad Jones, he's consistent with his hands. 48 receptions from 51 targets. He only dropped 3 passes. He'll be very good on the screens, good on the checkdowns, and I think that'll be a really good weapon for Houston.
And Brad Jones heads from the Pacific Northwest in Tacoma all the way down into steamy hot Texas as it sits. Eddie Gage, Brad Jones, another fantastic running back, and it seems like the top choices for running back are gone. And a couple, maybe a surprise with Squarebush going to Louisiana, and it almost seemed like a foregone conclusion that Jones had to go off the board.
It was, and I know DeMond's going to have to crunch some numbers and make some things happen over there, him and that rest of that Houston front office. But he's a veteran. He's been around for a long time, and he'll get things figured out and, just pull some guys back in the offices and say, hey, I know we plan on paying you X amount of dollars, but there's been a change due to some late-breaking developments. We're going to get this squared away, and at the end of the day, they'll get things going.
And Nate, we'll wrap up with you as we transition here into Portland. Brad Jones off the board, solid running back. What can you say about him?
Yeah, you said it. Dynamic, strong running back, able to give chunk yardage at any time for that Tacoma squad. Definitely have a good weapon there in Houston to be able to get him the ball early and often in those ball games. Able to we saw him break off huge runs this season in season 4 for Tacoma. Looking for him to do great things as a Hyena.
And Eddie, we'll scamper up right back to you as we talk about the Fleet over in Portland. The Fleet looked fairly strong going into the final 2 weeks of the season. They fall out of the playoff spots, losing in weeks 11 and 12. This club is maybe just 1 or 2 pieces away from maybe making a postseason charge.
I agree with you, Tyler. But unfortunately for Portland, they lost their defensive coordinator and wide receiver, Art Vanderlei. He's now the head coach over there in Florida. But the good news is for him, even though he left his playbook behind, so they have that to refer to. Being with him for so many seasons, I'm sure they learned a lot from him. They can pick up where they left off. But I think their concern is more on the offensive end, and losing Art, he was also the wide receiver, so I think that's where they go in this draft here in this first round is to replace him, especially now that Lottie Lou is gone. I think receivers may start falling off the board here, and there's only a number of high value receivers on the board, and I think they perhaps go with wide receiver here.
As we take a live look into Mel Davis into the Portland war room as he is busy crunching some numbers over there in Portland. And Eddie, your former partner in your defensive backfield, Bernard Smith, goes to the Portland Fleet. Is just a fantastic player, fantastic guy in any locker room. Brody Gulch goes over into that Portland locker room. JT Walters comes over in free agency to the kicker. Portland's defense, like you said, Eddie, it's very well. It's pretty well stacked. If they can continue to maybe mold the defense around what Art Vanderlei started and maybe transform it just a little bit, they'll have pretty good on their defense. Ethan, we go down to you. Wide receiver seems to be the call. Who are you picking? Oh, we got another one, ladies and gentlemen. Ethan, you're muted, bro. Let's try this again. Ethan.
Now I actually know what I'm talking about here. Okay.
There we go.
But I'm in absolute agreement. Wide receiver is the right call here. I had them picking a wide receiver in the first round. My choice for it was David Gayers from Lexington. 58 receptions, almost 1,000 yards of receiving, averaging 17.1 per catch. He's probably the best wide receiver on the board right now. So that would be who I would be taking.
Nate, we go to you. Savage, Kaufman, Patton, and Gears. Who are you picking out of those four?
I would say, if I had to guess, I would say I'm going to go off the wall here and just say Israel Adams. Adams, it might be a good pick for Portland.
Another solid pick, product out of Memphis. We find out right now from the Commissioner Cameron Irvine, the 10th pick in the draft is in.
Mike Savage.
Don't interrupt, Eddie. You might be wrong. With the 10th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Portland Fleet select Nate's guy, Israel Adams, wide receiver. Lone Star is on the clock with the 11th pick.
Nate's got another one. Nate gets Israel Adams. He dethrones the Oracle, should we say. Nate, take it away. What do you like about Israel Adams so much?
Boy, Israel Adams is so good at what he does at wide receiver. Just able to do everything that he can to help his team out on offense. Dynamic wide receiver, just able to when you think that he doesn't have a chance to catch the ball down the field because he's so covered by two or three guys, he can still jump up and make that catch. Just a great overall guy. A wide receiver in this league, and Portland. I know Kendra's going to be, crying tears of sadness because Vancouver's going to have their hands full this year on defense with the Israel Adams on that wide receiver score.
And a couple of fantastic catches late on in the season. We go to Ethan Muslin on more from Israel Adams.
Yeah, I had Israel Adams being the second wide receiver to come off the board when the draft was, in proper order before everyone started shuffling everything around. but this is a good pick. Israel does really well, really consistent on receptions, 70 of 98 from last season. So, if you know that you have a receiver who can get the ball in their hands at more than 70% of the time, that's a good pick to pick up. He averaged 12.4 yards per catch during the SFLM season. So again, good for first down plus. And I think this is a good addition for Portland's third wide.
And Portland gets Israel Adams. Eddie, as we move on to the next pick in the draft, that's going to Lone Star. Israel Adams comes off the board, wide receiver, can make plays in little to no space.
He can, and one thing I liked about him, I saw one of his interviews with Ashley Jackson. Man, such a great young man. He also is excited about the SFL. He's intelligent beyond his years, mature beyond his years. I think the guy's only like 22, 23 years old, and he has a lot going on for him. He's a volunteer firefighter. He's going to school, I think, for a second degree. I mean, just a great guy. And Portland got a wonderful kid with this young man, and he's going to have that locker room electric as well.
They got Bernard Smith, another young gun on the defensive side. And I got Israel Adams over on the wide receiving core. So Portland, again, a team to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer to season 18. Ethan Muslin, Lone Star on the clock. Yes, I'm skipping Nate Hall for now because he might have a little bit of bias for a little bit. But Ethan Muslin, Lone Star needs. They're going to have a couple of picks this time around. If I can get their exact number.
Yeah, so they're gonna have two. They've got two available to them, and this is an interesting predicament because I expected all the linemen to be gone by this point. So they're still available. You want to pick up a second one to protect a Spinnick, you might want to do that. Another possibility, a second tight end. But what I would consider myself doing for picking is probably, again, to fill out that front seven on defense. Again, Bogey Barr is still available for a third linebacker. That might be a good pickup. In my mock, I had them picking up Aaron Gooden. That's another good possibility. And another need for them would probably be picking up a nickel corner. but that's pretty much all Lone Star needs right now. So I would say probably more than likely this might be a defensive pick.
Eddie, we'll jump back to you as we keep Nate Hall waiting just a little bit longer, but only 2 picks here for Lone Star. Maybe a fullback to help out Ike McBride, or maybe they go the Louisiana route, maybe pick another halfback to help her out.
Watching Lone Star's games last season, they were susceptible to the deep ball all too often. I think in this draft, they're going to go in the secondary. I don't know if they're going to get a second free safety or maybe a nickel corner, but I think that's the direction that they go in.
I think Lone Star's probably at about maybe the 2-minute mark as far as time allotted goes by. We'll get that official time here in just a second. But Nate, let's go to you for Lone Star, and we've kept you waiting long enough. You might have a little bit of insider information on where you guys are going, but where do you think the Glory with their new updated snazzy looking logo are going, I should say?
Hey, look, we got a new logo. We got a fresh look. We love it over there in Lone Star. One of the best, for sure, one of the best locker rooms in this league, proven by the fact we brought everybody back from last season to this season. Nobody wanted to go anywhere, wanted to stick around and come back even stronger for this season here in season 18. I have zero insight on what we're doing from the owners or coaches. I have no idea who we're picking or anything, but if I had to guess, I would say we're probably going to help out Ike in that backfield, pick up a fullback, maybe somebody like Torneo Rivera might be a good pick to pick up here in this draft, or even Mateo Bravado from Ottawa.
And with Sudanokai, stepping aside for this season, that was kind of a shock for me. We were talking on the re-signing show with myself and Cam that, why hasn't Sudanokai signed yet? But it seems like Sudo is just going to go ahead and take a little bit extra time off as Lone Star's pick is in with pick number 11. We shoot it over to Denton, Texas, and Cameron Irvine with the call.
My old stomping grounds, Denton, Texas. With the 11th pick in the SFL's Season 18 rookie draft, the Lone Star Glory select Bogey Barr, linebacker. Jacksonville, via Louisiana, has the 12th overall pick. Let's see where Mike All is next.
There we go. Eddie, was that you again who just threw out Bogey Barr and picked Bogey Barr, or was it Ethan this time? Ethan gets it. All right, Ethan, go ahead, take it away. Bogey Barr, a solid pick.
Bogey Barr was a very good linebacker for Salt Lake City last season. 17 tackles for losses, 5 deflections, responsible for 2.5 sacks, 89 total tackles on the season, averaging 11.1 for the season. Just a fantastic player who's always there, ready to make the stop, ready to help his team prevent further progress on the offense. And I think that's why Lone Star ended up taking him. And those 17 tackles for losses are nothing to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination.
Yogi and Bogey are back together again and probably stealing a couple more picnic baskets disguised as footballs here in the new part of the season. Eddie Gage, Yogi Barr has his old little buddy next to him again. Bogey Barr, one of the more phenomenal linebackers out of this rookie class.
Yeah, I had a feeling he would go there and teams would lay off of him because they knew that he wanted to team up with his buddy Yogi. So I was predicting they would pick him up in later rounds, but no shocker to see him go. I just thought they would address that secondary first, but apparently they wanted him so bad they decided to take him now and get that out the way.
And Nate, we'll wrap up with you with your reaction from the Lone Star locker room. What did you guys see in this kid that you like so much?
Well, let me first off just applaud the pick from our front office there in Lone Star. Awesome pick for to pick up Bogey Barr and bring him over and be able to team up with Yogi in Denton, Texas. Just a dynamic linebacker, able to get in the backfield and cause havoc on the quarterback, able to get tackles for loss this season, wreaking havoc in the offensive backfield, no matter whether it's the quarterback or the running back, and even able to drop back in coverage every now and again and cover a tight end or two this season in the minor leagues. So definitely look forward to seeing what he can do for us on that defense in Denton this coming season in season 18.
Bogey is only the second defensive player off the board with the 11th pick as we try and figure out where Mike All is around town this time around. It seems we've caught him
Here we go
eating
again.
a little bit of dinner as he's got maybe a little smoky there on the end
boy.
of his tent sill. But I wish we could have no smoke.
No.
Just distinguish everything. Oh, what do we got? Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, here we go. Superman has arrived, everybody. Oh, it's Mike Hall in disguise. Ethan, let's go to you. Jacksonville, defensive heavy. They lost a keystone in that defensive core, Hunter Norwood, which I think is a devastating blow. But now they have to rebuild and try and regroup from a couple of key pieces leaving that squad. They had to rebuild their linebacking core all last season as well. So this is not an easy draft for Jacksonville.
No, it's not easy at all. They have a lot of space to fill on their defense. They absolutely need a strong safety. Their defensive tackles are non-existent right now, so they might want to pick one of them up as a good play. I had Odette Boudreaux going in round 1 to Jacksonville, so that might still be a possibility. If they want to go into like a 3-4 set, they might want to pick up a 4th linebacker, or maybe even transfer a linebacker over to the line and maybe pick up another defensive tackle that way. But they have a lot of work ahead of them to rebuild their defense.
Nate, there is a gaping hole at defensive tackle for Jacksonville. Is this where we see Odette Boudreaux, like Ethan said, come off the board?
It may be where we see Odette Boudreaux come off the board. I actually have that player as one of my two predictions. They could go Odette Boudreaux here, or they could also go Adrian Blaine as strong safety because they have a gaping hole in that secondary they could fill here in the first round.
Eddie, you're defensive-minded coach, if ever there ever was one. Jacksonville has, long since been prided on having a solid core at their defense, led by Hunter Norwood. But the one player that, they cannot afford to slip any further is who?
I mean, you gotta go defensive tackle. There's only 2 in the draft, and if you don't draft them here, there's no telling if there's going to even be one available. You have to take tackle. I mean, they also have needs in the secondary as well, like you said, with a strong safety. But man, how can you not take a defensive tackle right now?
All right, we go back to Cameron Irvine for pick number 11, season 18's rookie draft.
Thanks, Tyler. With the 12th pick, actually, of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Stuart Zomilia, strong safety. 13th selection, that's St. Louis. You're on the clock.
Stuart Zomilia really impressed me in the semifinal round. He gets his reward. His last name is modeled off of his 2 young daughters. He gets over to Jacksonville. His dog jumps up on him. He's already got Jacksonville King merch. Eddie Gage, let's talk about Stuart.
Great player. I mean, the only thing I can think of why they didn't go defensive tackle is because of the value there of those 2 players. But yeah, like we said, they needed help at that strong safety position. I only think I saw one of his games, and as you said, he was a playmaker. So, and you can tell he's excited. So they must have been talking to him for quite some time and done a lot of research on this kid, because you can tell he's excited to be a part of that Jacksonville organization.
A solid pickup for Jacksonville. Nate, talk to us a little bit more. Tell us about maybe the intricacies of Zomelia's game.
Just a great cover safety back there in that secondary, able to spy on where those quarterback eyes might be going as he's trying to find those receivers. He seems to have a knack for finding right where that ball is going on each and every time that ball is thrown in that secondary. If he doesn't get the pick, he's going to be sure to knock that ball away from that receiver and make life difficult on the quarterback and the receivers trying to play offense.
And he's going from his cornerback spot in the minor leagues for Annapolis to a strong safety spot, which should, suit his play style, his aggressive play style, Ethan, rather nicely.
It absolutely will. Zemalia did a great job on the corner for Annapolis. Knocked down 9, picked off 6. He was responsible also for 36 tackles last season. So I think that might have been the reason why they went to giving Zemalia into the strong safety spot. So that way, if you have him on the corner, you might lose him a little bit. But if you have him in the middle of the secondary, give him a lot more opportunity to watch plays develop on the middle and get those tackles.
And we go back to Nate Hall as we go to the Gateway City in St. Louis, who just hosted the minor league championship game as the Eagle Mondavini and company were very happy about getting the championship hosted in St. Louis. As we see Eagle go ahead talking with a couple people in the draft room, maybe talking to the next selection as Eagle Mondavi gets us going. Nate Hall, Eagle Mondavi squad, sit right around 500 almost every single season. I believe last season, if I remember correctly, they went 7-5, so they made it into the postseason. Let's see if I'm correct. I'm probably not correct, but we'll just double check here in a second. But Nate Hall, St. Louis, I'm up by 1. That figures. Nate, where are the Gladiators going this time around?
I'm going to go dark horse pick right here and say offensive lineman, just because they don't have any on their roster. They might go Mitchell Witters here in this situation from Madison to help protect their quarterback.
All right, we go to Eddie Gage now for St. Louis. Eagle Mondavi. I think the league knows Eagle Mondavi very well. I believe he started up I can't remember the acronym that they go for their soccer or football, if you will, simulation league that they use.
Big Head Baseball.
Big Head Baseball. That's one. I don't think Eagle runs that. I know they run a soccer federation over there. But Eddie, let's talk more about American football. Let's talk more about the SFL, the SSF. Thank you, Mr. Winkler, over in chat. I knew it was something close to the SFL, but we'll move on. Eddie Gage, St. Louis, where are they headed?
They lost their fullback, Bill Cherry, this offseason in free agency. So perhaps they go fullback here, or perhaps, they're one of the teams who went with the dynamic 2 tight end offense last season. So perhaps they add a third wide receiver. That's actually why I thought that Art was going this past season from Portland. I was predicting him to go to St. Louis and be the offensive coordinator, but he went on to Florida. So I'm going to go perhaps a third receiver. But then again, a person like myself, I love offensive linemen. So perhaps they go to offensive linemen. Maybe they weren't expecting one to still be around, but they did their due diligence and interviewed them all anyway. So perhaps they go there. So those are my 3 guesses.
And a lot of people are saying tight end 3 or something like that. And you guys want to take touches away from Elsie Mondavi? Come on, now. That can't be right. Ethan, we go to you now for St. Louis, and wide receiver number 3 is an option. O-line, of course, haven't seen anyone go for the O-lineman yet, for the most part, besides Randy Fatt earlier here on in the draft. But where are they headed?
Yeah, I had a wide receiver 3 pick for the first round for the Gladiators. I had them taking Mike Savage. He was probably the best one available at the time when I made the mock. But I absolutely agree that an offensive lineman would be a great choice here. I think maybe if you want to be a little conservative on the cap, maybe go for Moose Mitchell. That might be a good choice. There's not really anything that St. Louis needs on defense. Their defense is solid and stacked and ready to go. They're good on special teams. So yeah, they've got 3 picks available. I think they'll go for that third wide. They'll go for a lineman somewhere along the way, and the third pick is kind of gravy at this point. They can kind of do what they want with it.
All right, Mike Savage, a name thrown out there. Nate, if it's not Mike Savage, we saw maybe a lower valued wide receiver come off the board. Where would you go if it's not Mike Savage, if you're going wide receiver?
If it's not Mike Savage at this point, I think they go for somebody like Adrian Ellis maybe in this situation, or maybe even Charlie Baker.
All right, and just like that, the pick is in for St. Louis. We head back to the commissioner, Cameron Irvine, for the beginning of the second half of the first round, pick number 13. Wait, that's not Bryant Dynasty?
He won't. He keeps it simple.
And see what we have going on. Oh, I cut my audio out as I unmuted myself. Anyway, cartoon character, Dynasty hair flip. I'm whatever. Let's go St. Louis. With the 13th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select Shane Kaufman, wide receiver. London is on the clock with the 14th selection.
It is a wide receiver. It's Shane Kaufman, and Kaufman had a fantastic end of his campaign. Nate Hall, tell us about Shane Kaufman.
Yeah, Shane Kaufman over there in Tacoma alongside Mike Savage. They were one of the more dynamic duos in this league this season, able to catch any ball that was thrown their direction. Just a great overall receiver, able to get the make the catches that he needed to make and help that Tacoma offense stay as high powered as they did throughout most of the season.
And he did that as the second wide receiver in a dynamic Tacoma wide receiving core. Mike Savage, doesn't get the call this time around. It's his partner in crime, Shane Kaufman. Ethan Muslin. Kaufman was seen time and time again making big plays in Tacoma.
Yeah, he was a fantastic receiver. And here's the thing, like Savage and Kaufman both had equal amounts of opportunities to catch the football, and they were pretty much on equal footing. So, seeing them take Shane Kaufman instead of Savage might be a bit of a value pick for St. Louis. They might be looking towards maybe picking a more higher value player for another spot. Maybe looking for maybe a fourth wide, maybe the lineman we were talking about. So I think this might have just been a case of watching your cap space and making sure that you find a good talent for a better price.
And engage the changing of the guard there at the wide receiver 3 spot. Elsie Mondavi, according to Eagle, maybe interested in a position change as Shane Kaufman goes and takes her spot in Single Bar City.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to figure out how that's going to work out at the dinner table when she gets that news, if she hasn't gotten it already. But, yeah, Shane Kaufman, great player. Looking at his attributes, maxed out pretty much everywhere. Just got a recent animation right toward the end of the season, breakaway burst. Like to get that consistency of a bit. But overall, great player. And St. Louis, the thing about them, I fear for whoever has to play them week 1 because they've been playing with a 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver offense this entire time. And now to see them come out with 3 wide receivers, they have zero tape on what they're going to do. So good luck to whoever plays St. Louis week 1.
And we go back to, let's go to Ethan here as we go to the team that, we go from St. Louis, which was Johnny Pickler's first ball club, and now we go to where he currently resides over in London. Ethan, tell us a little bit more about London and what they have to do here in this draft here with their first pick.
So London, this is their first and their only pick. So this is their only opportunity to improve on their team. So they've got one shot to put in a rookie. Here's the thing: they go on a 3-2 for their offensive weapons. They're good there. They've got all 3 wides. They've got 2 tights. They have 1 offensive lineman right now. Defense is filled up completely. So London's got the pick of the litter at this point on what they'd like to do. What I would like to see is maybe have them choose a lineman. Maybe they go towards a Moose Mitchell, but that's going to be a bit of a cap issue because that would put them over by about 5 points or so. This might be the time where you might see Ja'Cory Ray go off the board.
Ja'Cory Ray possibly, as we saw a quick look into Bryant Dynasty, in fact he has not turned into a cartoon animal, or he has just maybe popped back out of the cartoon animal form, as we were talking about with the Commissioner Kevin Irvine just a moment ago. But Nate, let's go to you. Couple of players returning to London. Jack Russell comes back into the fold. Fox Highwind is a big wide receiver pickup they bring back to London. Another strong piece for Johnny Pickler and another weapon for him to throw to. To me, in my personal opinion, I think you give Johnny Pickler yet another weapon to throw to.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Tyler. He's got enough weapons over there in London right now. You said it. Fox Highwind's back. You got Mike Savage. I'm sorry, not Mike Savage. Mike St. Green over there already. Another great tight end. He's got the tight ends to throw to. The one area on offense that they struggled in last season was their run game. Robert Merrill was not able to get huge runs on most of the games that they played last year. And the one way that they can help that out, they already have an offensive lineman, but they got to pick up a fullback right now. They have to get that lead blocker out there for Merrill. And I think if they pick up that high-value fullback in Bravado, that they could get that 1-2 punch between the arm of Pickler and the running back game of Merrill.
So Nate Hall is thinking fullback. Eddie Gage, let's go to you. And the league knows Johnny Pickler. He is the antithesis of being the profile player for any club he's a part of. Now over in London, he's got an opportunity there across the pond to do something. London was a much different team from 2 seasons ago compared to last season. How do they just extend that advantage? They made the playoffs this past season. They beat Baltimore, who previously was undefeated going into week 12 when they went over across the pond and took them down. What is London thinking about? Do they give Johnny Pickler another weapon to throw to, either just as a dynamic wide receiver, or they go fullback?
I mean, come on. You want to talk about a spoiled diva. Johnny Pickler has 3 wide receivers, all well paid, a Pro Bowl tight end, Hall of Fame tight end, and Tiberius Bovine, and Benji Masson as a more than adequate backup. I mean, how many more weapons can the guy have? And Robert Merrill, I mean, who catches like 800 passes out in the flat every darn game. Come on, man. I mean, he doesn't need another weapon. What he needs is another offensive lineman because, you know, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it with my chest today. But
Come on, Eddie. Come on, Eddie. Say it with your chest.
Chad is in chat waiting on it.
Offensive lineman is where they go here.
All right. And I completely agree, especially I believe it was week 8 where Robert Merrill, I think, only touched the ball once on the ground, and they just completely went to the passing game for almost every single play. And to give Pickler another offensive lineman would be fantastic and maybe give him just that extra second that he might need. As the pick from London is in, we go back to Cameron Irvine with the call.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 14th pick in the SFL Season 16 rookie draft, the London Knights take a defensive lineman off the board because it's Anthony Anderson moving to offensive line. Los Angeles has the 15th pick. You're on the clock.
So Anthony Anderson makes a mentality switch from the defensive line to the offensive line. Eddie, you were right on the nose as far as the position goes. I believe that was who's it called? Ethan, I don't think, did you also call offensive line? I know Nate called fullback. Let's go with
Eddie and I had both gone offensive line, and it's kind of interesting because when in the mock I had picked Jaden Taylor to swap over from defensive end to offensive line. So it's nice to see London still had that same mentality.
Completely agree, Eddie. Let's go back to you. Offensive line, instead of a weapon for him to throw to, another guy to help protect Johnny Pickler in that pocket.
Yeah, I mean, you can have all the weapons in the world, but if you don't have pass protection, it makes no difference. And you know, they lost one of their offensive linemen to Queen City this past offseason in free agency. They picked up another one to, you know, keep the train rolling. And I expect them to be throwing the ball all over the field again this season.
And Nate, let's wrap up with you. Anthony Anderson made a couple of nice contributions on the defensive line front. Now he has to stop the big hog mollies in the SFL on the offensive line. Will that help or hurt his game?
He already knows what it's like to be in the trenches as a defensive lineman. So he's just going to need to get that mindset as he switches over to the O-line. He's still fighting in the trenches, so the scenery will be the same. It'll just be on the opposite side of the ball. So he should be just fine switching over and helping out protect protect Pickler's blind side going forward in season 18.
As we go over now to the Los Angeles Lycans, Ryan Yosef in the war room for the Lycans as he prepares to make his selection, the first selection for round one for Los Angeles. And Ramen, Tom Ramen is having some issues, and we send our best out to the Ramens as well. Ethan, you're wearing Los Angeles. Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe a little bit different, but let's go to Ethan, back to Ethan Muslin, who's actually wearing Los Angeles gear, but it's the wrong team. But tell us a little bit more about Los Angeles. They got
because I wear my paint on my shirt. That's why. I'm one of the rare people who live in Los Angeles who's actually a Charger fan. So take that for what you will. But LA's got a couple of picks to go. They've only got 2 in the draft this year. And this is going to be an interesting choice. Their offense is pretty solid. They're all set up there. They're going to need to probably fill out their front 7 a little bit and get a nickel corner. The question is, where do they go for their first pick? They have a lot of cap space available. They've got about 176, 177 in cap space available to them. So they don't have to worry about cost or anything like that right now. So if they wanted to right now, probably the best thing to do, because you've got so many corners available, defensive tackles are so rare right now. There's only 2 of them out there. I think this would be the time you might see Boudreaux or Johnson filling that final spot on the line for LA.
All right. And your question, a couple people were wondering if you lived in LA, and well, if everybody in chat, there's your answer.
There's your answer, but you can't tell because it's raining like cats and dogs out here.
That's interesting. That rarely happens, but it's some much needed rain for that area in general as well. Nate Hall, we go to you here. Defensive tackle is a big need, maybe another tight end, but where do you see the Lycans going here with their first pick of the draft?
As much as they love their secondary over there in LA, I think they go nickel corner here and pick up Terrence Pearson from Ottawa, the top rated cornerback in this draft. So I think he goes early right now to the Lycans.
And now we go back up to Eddie Gage as we are under 2 minutes on the clock here for the Lycans. Nate's thinking Terrence Pearson. Where are you thinking that the Lycans are headed? They've got a couple pieces to fill. They had a lot of free agency shinings. Bob Duncan, Valdemir Duncan for the offensive line needs. They've got Gary Margs, Kevin Brackett, Danny Stinson jumping in the defensive end of everything. But where are you headed? Defense. They got a lot of defense pieces in the free agency.
I'm going to have to set up a meeting with Cam because there's way too many offensive players being taken in this first round. And I know when he interviews these owners and GMs, he prefers offensive-minded people because he wants it to look so good for television with these high-scoring games. But we got to start getting some defense played here. And I think LA fills that nickel spot up with a corner here.
Ryan Yosef, a.k.a. Fear Dog, he says, I cannot wait for this. Maybe the Lycans have thrown us all a curveball. We go back to Ethan real quick. If it's a curveball, where are they headed? Where is that curveball landing?
If it's a curveball, and I kind of agree with Eddie, getting a nickel corner would be a good idea. If they go with them, if they go with that nickel corner, my pick would be Enzo Bolt. He's one of the best ones out there. He got 14 deflections, 6 picks, one of them going all the way. He's probably the best corner available right now on the board. And if LA wants to go for that nickel corner, he would be the guy.
All right, as we hit 000, Los Angeles gets their pick in time. We go to the Commissioner Cameron Irvine for a potential curveball into the mix.
With the I got to give it back to him. With the 15th pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Los Angeles Lycans select Terrence Weary, wide receiver. 16th pick, Queen City, you're on the clock.
Wow.
Wide receiver 4 spot in LA is going to Terrence Weary. Nate Hall, let's go to you.
I am actually surprised by this pick. I wasn't expecting them to pick up a fourth wide receiver. I thought they would had other holes that they need to fill at this spot. But congrats to Terrence Weary from Memphis. He's had some experience in the semifinals, coming up short on the losing end to Madison in that semifinal game. But he is a dynamic wide receiver in his own right. Congrats to him, and he's headed out to the West Coast.
And we go to a man who lives in Los Angeles. Well, I should say maybe hometown ball club should maybe change from the Chargers to the Lycans, maybe. But Terrence Weary joins the ball club over there in the Bay Area.
Yeah, this is a good pickup, and here's the thing: the Lycans are at least a better team than the actual ones we have out here. So, but Weary's a very good choice here. 39 of 58 on receptions. So, but he'll pick it up about 2 out of 3 times. So that's a really good way to go. Averages about 10.3 on the catches. So very, very good on the passing game right there. This was a bit of a curve, to be honest with you, because I was expecting them to go defense to fill out. They can still fill out their front seven. They'll still have to do that with a fourth linebacker or defensive tackle, but giving Sully Richardson another weapon to play with is not a bad idea. So it seems like they're going to be really going into the air for this next season.
I do apologize for accidentally mentioning the Bay Area. I know San Francisco is a long way away from LA.
Well, I mean,
Eddie Gage,
and that's where I was born and raised, so that works.
All right, so there you go, Tom. I got maybe half credit for that. But Eddie Gage, final thoughts on Terrence Weary?
He must have really impressed them in the interview process, because there are a number of rookies who have more value than him, but they went out on a limb and picked up this kid. And like I said, he must have done something. Perhaps he does things off the field that they were not expecting, but he's going to be a benefit to them, whether it be with stats or social media or things of that nature, who knows. But for them to pick him up, he must have really wowed them throughout the interview process.
And as we go back to the chat, JKCOH in chat says it's an offensive draft, and only 3 defensive players have come off the board to play defensive spots. 1 defensive player came off the board and went into an offensive line spot. So Queen City is now on the clock, and they were the feel-good story after multiple seasons of possibly just not putting everything together. They had a fantastic opening start, 6-0 to start the campaign, faltered a little bit, but made it back to the playoffs. Eddie Gage will stay right with you. Queen City, really, really good ball club, comes back and gets back to the playoffs. Now they're on the clock here with their first pick of the draft.
Queen City did an excellent job. Chris Comasack and that front office with BJ Lovelace and company, Hubba, and all those folks over there did a great job putting Queen City back on the map, right where they should be in the SFL. It seems like the SFL is in a better place whenever Queen City is able to compete with the rest of the big dogs. They're in a tough division with Baltimore. They have to play them twice this season because of their record. I think they go on the defensive side of the ball. If they go anywhere on offense, it's going to be the old line and get maybe a third offensive lineman. But if I'm thinking the way Chris may be thinking, it's either offensive lineman or somewhere on that defense to try and slow down that potent Baltimore offense.
Robert Cron and Butch Menner, two free agent acquisitions who jump onto the line, and countering Baltimore is right. When you're in that same division, it's a real tough contest every day of the week. Ethan, let's go to you. Besides the 2 offensive line acquisitions in the offseason, they also jump on the Jorge Torres bandwagon. He jumps in at that nickelback spot at free safety. So it looks like they have enough defensive backs, maybe not a linebacker or defensive tackle, maybe to fill out that. But where are you headed? I know Queen City, back into the fold, a lot of changes with their coaching staff this past season. Are they more offensive-minded now if they have a couple of offensive linemen to help out, or are they headed to maybe shore up that defense and try and counter Baltimore that way?
I think what they really need to do is definitely need to shore up their defense. They have a couple holes in the front seven they got to take care of. They have that tackle opening. They have an opening for linebacker, and that was where I ended up having them take Earl Fields the fourth from Tacoma in that spot. So that might be where they go there. And I think you're absolutely right. Their secondary's set to go. They don't really have much want on offense. I think you're absolutely right. Maybe they pick up a third lineman here to protect Caswell and Jet Zero. That might be a good way to, and again, when you're taking on a machine like Baltimore, you have to figure out exactly what you want to do to split those seams and get yourself down the field.
And Nate, real quickly to you, as the pick just came in here for Queen City, final thoughts on Queen City's pick?
Just short and sweet, so Cam can get to his back to his job. But I think they take Godet Boudreaux at defensive tackle.
I think that'd be a solid pick. Let's find out where the gentleman in Queen City went with as we shoot it back to Cameron Irvine for pick 16 of the season 18 SFL draft.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 16th pick of the SFL Season 18 Rookie Draft, the Queen City Corsairs select linebacker Nathaniel Diggs.
Pick.
The 17th pick earlier tonight was traded, was not announced publicly, but was announced to our channel. So we're going to go over that trade right now before we take a break and after we take a look at Diggs' reaction. But Charleston will now be picking 17th from Vegas. They swapped the 17th and 18th picks. Vegas also gets the 40th pick and the 56th pick. Charleston will get the 55th pick and the 67th pick, along with moving back one spot to 18th. Here's a live look at Nathaniel Diggs after he was selected by Queen City. Again, Charleston is up next. They move one spot ahead of Las Vegas. You are watching the SFL Rookie Draft. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Season 18 SFL Rookie Draft. I'm Tyler Falk, Eddie Gage, Ethan Muslin, Nate Hall, all back with you here as we close out the final third of the first round tonight. As we just went away to break, Nathaniel Diggs goes off the board to Queen City. Eddie Gage, you exclaimed great pick as soon as he came off the board. Tell us a little bit more about Mr. Diggs.
Great kid. I saw his interview with Ashley. He's also a great player on the field. Like I said, I only caught the last third of the SFLM games because I was in the playoffs. But this kid, man, he first of all his actual play is a playmaker, and every time I saw him, he was flying around making plays, and he was a total team guy. He's always rooting for his teammates, and not only when himself makes plays, but when his teammates makes plays, he's out there supporting his guys. I saw his interview with Ashley. He's a family man. He has a couple of kids running around, keeping them busy and, trying to stop them from running down, across the halls and stuff like that. But just a great guy, highly energetic, played football in his career before, I believe. And he's going to be around for a long time in the SFL because he is just electric, man. He reminds me of Max Knight when I was talking to him back in season 16. Just a wonderful kid, man. I think he's going to be around for quite some time. I don't necessarily look at players in terms of their player value. I look at more towards their character and their mannerisms, and he's about as big as a pickup as anyone's going to have in this draft. And to me, Queen City won the first round with that pickup because that kid is wonderful.
And as we take a look at Jack Brown earlier in his draft room, that's the philosophy you battle against, right, Eddie? Is you go for their value or you go for the people that are going to have longevity and eventually have that value as part of your club. Nate Hall, let's go down to you real quick on Nathaniel Diggs. Your final thoughts on this dynamic and great character pick.
Yeah, great character pick. So, Eddie was saying, just a great overall attitude. Whenever he's in the chat, he's always hyping up his team. Always, even when they're down, he's always, keep your head up. Everything will be all right. Definitely well coached by that Madison squad. Coming off a championship game from last night, coached well defensively coached team by Coach DeMora and Swift and others. So just an overall great guy. Just can't be excited enough for this guy as he continues his next steps here in this league.
As we approach the halfway mark of the clock for Charleston, as they're on the clock now with pick number 17, first pick of the third part of this first round. Ethan, let's go to you. Charleston, they have 3 picks coming up here in the draft. A couple of additions were Dusty Wilson, Chris Joseph, and Eric Hammer and Jacob Clear, all notably, especially Hammer and Clear in the defensive backfield. Where is the biggest need for the Predators?
So right now, the biggest need I'm seeing is it's not really much of needs, it's what they would want. Because they've got everybody effectively covered in terms of big playmakers. So they've got Da Vinci on tight end. They have 3 wides. They're good there. They could use a second defensive tackle if they want to go into that 4-3 set. If they could go linebacker if they want to flip it around. But I think offensive line might be a key factor here if you want to protect Drew and Swearingen. Maybe even a second tight end as well if you want to go into a 2 tight end run block set.
What we haven't seen a whole lot of besides Nathaniel Diggs is a lot of defensive picks. And so we go to Eddie Gage. Is defense the way to go here for the Predators?
They could add that second defensive tackle. They could also go with an offensive lineman. I mean, man, I just don't understand it, man. In my opinion, the offensive line and the defensive line win games. And when they're available, you have to take them off the board. Hopefully they go offensive line here.
All right, we'll see which way Jack Brown and the rest of the Charleston organization go with as we go back to Cameron Irvine for pick number 17 of this first round.
With the 17th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Charleston Predators select Robert Cherry, defensive tackle, Las Vegas, by way of Charleston. You're up next with the 18th pick.
Robert Cherry gets off the board. Unfortunately for Cherry, his championship game was cut short by injury. He'll be back in time to get on the field for Charleston in week 1. A devastating blow to be sure, but he's a champion leaving the minor league, and he joins a resurgent Charleston Predator organization, Nate Hall.
Yeah, just a tough break in that championship game, going down with injury in the first quarter. I think it was on the first series even, if I'm not mistaken. Just unable to unable to play in that championship game. But Charleston definitely saw him for what he was, which is a great defensive end in that minor league for Madison throughout the season, just constantly wreaking havoc in the offensive backfield for their opponents. Able to get to the quarterback constantly, bring him down for sacks. Just a dynamic guy all around, and will definitely anchor that defensive line for Charleston.
Eddie Gage, back to you. 2 defensive tackles came into the draft. One of them is off the board in the form of Robert Cherry.
Yep. Again, it was so heartbreaking to see that guy. I think he got hurt in like the first minute of the championship game. I was like, oh man, no one wants to, be a part of that history. But another great pickup for them, and Charleston. They must have been listening. That they know what's up. Defense wins games, and there was a time, I believe it was season 14, in which their defense was, in terms of statistics, like number 1. So they're trying to get back to that. They were on their way last season, won their first playoff game in franchise history, and that was with Allen out the fold. So to see them guys come over there and get that done, Jacob Clearing fellas, I'm looking for bigger things for them in season 6 and season 18, and they got a great pickup there with Cherry.
Ethan Muslin, let's wrap up Robert Cherry real quick. Again, not a whole lot of game tape in the championship, of course, but he did enough, especially in behind-the-scenes interviews with Charleston, to get the nod.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you don't consider the championship game, that actually helps out Robert Cherry in the long run. I mean, you're talking about a guy who averages at least 1 sack a game. Will take down a runner in the backfield once, maybe twice a game. He's definitely dependable to get those tackles for losses, to get those sacks, to make those crucial stops. So I think swapping him over from the end to the inside of the defensive line is a really good idea and a great pickup.
And time is flying as Las Vegas has been the clock for nearly over 2 minutes. Eddie, we go back to you for the Fury. And the Fury has been, a team that has been stingy, especially this past season. Very stingy team. Who best amplifies that in the minor league, a potential signing for Las Vegas?
So yes, they are stingy, but they lost Rhett Sawyer, who in my mind was one of the better defensive ends, to Florida. Imagine him teamed up, my goodness, with Florida. Oh my goodness, that's another story for another day. They also lost Slynn, and in my opinion, yes, they led the league in turnovers this past season, but a lot of that was due to the pressure that they got up front out of that front 7. Gone are Rhett and Slynn. I think they addressed the defensive line. There's only 1 defensive tackle left on the board. It's an obvious choice to me that they have to address it. Like I said, games are won and lost in the trenches. And to me, you have to pick up a defensive tackle here.
Nate, let's go to you. Another, key, subtraction from that ball club is Tiberius Bovine. He leaves the tight end spot and goes over to London. So the Las Vegas has a lot of picks, but they have to fill them rather quickly.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too, Tyler, because as much as we love defense in this league, I think they have to address the gaping hole left by that tight end spot. This is where Scott Fowler will come off the board here in this round to give that offense an option at tight end.
Well, as a unique nickname, it could go very well with the Fury and their logo being a phoenix. Ethan Muslin, to you. 3 out of the 4 starting defensive line spots are still up for grabs for Las Vegas. The tight ends are vacant as well. A couple people, including Guy Clausen, saying they want to go with the tight end. Real quickly, where is Las Vegas headed? Who is coming off the board? You're at pick 18.
So I have to agree. I would have to put them down for a tight end. That's an absolute need for them. They have to take care of that real quick before they can even address anything else, because you have to have at least some short range target for Joseph Green to get something going. But I do think offensive line is an absolute need. Defensive line is an absolute need. They have so much to rebuild on that front line on both ends of the ball. So If they go lineman, I wouldn't be surprised. If they go tight end, I wouldn't be surprised there either.
Just an aside, the new general manager in Las Vegas, kind of happy with this pick. So it seems we'll see where they went as we go back to Cameron Irvine, the SFL commissioner, with the pick.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 18th pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Fury select Scott Fowle, tight end. Vancouver's on the clock with the 19th pick.
Nate, you hit it right on the head. Scott Fowle, the tight end from Madison, comes off the board. We'll take a look at his game tape, but Nate, take it away.
Look, I got firsthand, I was able to see firsthand what this guy can do in the offense for Madison this past season. Just able to find the holes in the middle of the secondary, towards the middle of the field. Able to catch any ball thrown in his direction. Just a dynamic tight end. And the Fury got a winner here in my book that is going to be able to help them move the ball down the field early and often in their ball games they play in Season 18. Just a great pick from them, and I'm excited to see what they do this season.
And Las Vegas have been known to throw their tight ends. Got Tiberius Bovine involved early and often. Joseph Green gets a fantastic pickup with Scott Fowle. Ethan Muslin, you got a chance to see him in the championship game as well. Tell us a little bit more about Scott Fowle.
Yeah, Scott Fowle is just a fantastic tight end, probably one of the best available just in terms of consistency in catching the football. He went 51 out of 67 targets, 76% catch rating. That is phenomenal hands from Scott Fowle. You can almost guarantee that he will pick up the football if you throw it to him. Gets about 8.6 yards per catch. It's a fantastic pickup for Vegas, and it was a much needed weapon for them.
And we can't forget Eddie Gage. Your thoughts on the new tight end in Las Vegas?
When the Hans brothers decided to retire on us at the conclusion of free agency, I almost lost consciousness. And I was thinking about all the receivers in the draft, and with us not drafting to 21st, I was thinking that everyone might be gone. And I did make a call to Scott Fowle. We talked to him. Great kid. Like you said, best of luck to him. He's a great individual. And he's another rah-rah guy out there in the chat as well.
And we move on to the Great White North up in Vancouver. They're on the clock with pick number 19 in this season's draft. Ethan, we'll start with you as we take a live look into Michael Prococo's office into Vancouver. Ethan, let's go to you. 3 picks, maybe exactly 3 players I could see coming off the board. Maybe a linebacker, wide receiver, fullback. Is that where they're headed this season?
I do think they need to get a linebacker sooner rather than later. There's definitely a lot of good players available. Tazzy Blackwell was the player I had Vancouver taking at this point, so that might be a good way to go about. I do agree. You might want to go get yourself a fullback, get yourself an extra blocker for Robert Redford. But I think what they probably need to do is they do need to fill the gap on the defense is a little bit bigger right now than on the offense. So maybe fill that up a little bit to start things off in this draft. And then after you get that taken care of, then you can kind of decide just like, do we want a fullback to get some run blocking? Do we want to patch up the defense a little bit more? And I think that might be where they go. And I think Tazzy Blackwell might be the best choice.
Tazzy Blackwell might come off the board. Nate, as you're 1 season removed from being in Vancouver, you know what it's like being in Andy Hamilton's war room. What kind of impact is he looking for from his new rookie player?
A guy that could come in, or girl that could come in right away and make an impact for sure. I think Ethan hit the nail on the head right here with the gap that was left on that linebacking core by the Kevin Brackett, Iceman Kevin Brackett, leaving to go elsewhere. That there's a gaping hole on that linebacking core right now that could be filled by a Blackwell. We haven't seen a Blackwell go off the board yet in this draft. I think this is where we see it, whether it be Taji or whether it be Diamond. I think one of those two is going to come off the board right here and help them anchor that linebacker unit.
And it seems the consensus from the two other panelists is Andy Hamilton's crew is going linebacker. Eddie, if it's not a Blackwell, who are they headed to?
I'm not sure because I'm not even sure they even go linebacker. They have two. They picked up Marcus Reed in free agency, and they play a lot of nickel sets. So I mean, they do play 4-3 occasionally, but I mean, who knows? With perhaps with the roster expansion, they go linebacker. But I'm thinking more on the offensive side of the football, and perhaps a tight end too here.
All right, we'll go back to Ethan. Yeah. What'd you say, Ethan? Go ahead.
I'm kind of nodding in agreement on that. That's like, yeah, I do think that Vancouver does pick up a second tight end, but I don't think it would be here in the first round. If anything, maybe they go along with defensive tackle. That might be a good way to go, because if you're right, Eddie, they usually play on the nickel set. You still need at least put 4 on the line to give yourself a good chance to try to get yourself pressured on the quarterback.
Andy Hamilton in chat saying, I can't believe you let this guy fall. Bob Funk in chat saying Vancouver taking Savage ? Few people joining us. Art Vandalay as well in chat. Rainbow Fox 2 also there. I saw Siege Falco in there. Charlie Boletsky in there. 206 still watching us. Thank you all for continuing to tune in and watch these rookies get drafted and on this stage. And Nate's got something to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say really quick with Andy making that comment in chat that he can't believe they let this guy fall so far in the draft right now. I'm starting to think he might be going for that third safety set because he loves that nickel and dime defense. So the fact that Travis Arthur is still on the board right here, he might be picking him up here in this first round with their first pick in this draft.
Heard Blackwells, we've heard Arthurs. Vancouver still yet to finalize their pick with the league, apparently. Eddie, let's go back to you for Vancouver. You let us know earlier that it might not be a Blackwell, it might be defensive tackle. If you had to pick, we saw a defensive end get to defensive tackle earlier in this draft. Are we seeing maybe a true defensive tackle come off the board?
With the depth at offensive line, that's where I'm going. I think there's only one true offensive lineman left.
I think we still have two. I think neither Winters nor Moose Mitchell have been.
Oh, you're right. You're right, because they brought over defensive. Yeah, because London picked up a defensive tackle. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. You are correct, Ethan. All right. Vancouver's pick is in. Cameron Irvine has the call. Let's go to him.
Thanks, Tyler. With the 19th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Vancouver Legion select Earl Fields IV, linebacker. Atlanta is on the clock with the 20th pick.
It is a linebacker. It is not a Blackwell. It's Earl Fields IV, getting a nice reaction in chat from Andy Hamilton. Ethan Muslin, let's go to you. Earl Fields IV is a Legion member.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Andy might have been on to what I was going with on my mock draft, because I had Earl going to Queen City. So the fact that he had fallen to Vancouver makes a bit of sense here, and he's definitely a good linebacker. Just looking at how he did last season, or in this last season in SFLM, 10 tackles for loss, 3 deflections. Didn't get any sacks, but still manages 63 tackles for the season. It's a good pickup, and I really like where he's going with this.
Playing a little guessing games to figure out who on that photo is Earl Fields IV. Eddie, back to you. How is Andy going to use Mr. Fields IV in his defense?
Well, I mean, he'll be their third linebacker, so he's going to play that Sam linebacker spot, out there lined up over the tight end, over the strong side tight end. So perhaps we see more of a 4-3 defense from Andy this season and getting away. One thing I did think about was that game they played versus, I believe it was Los Angeles, in which they came out and Los Angeles ran I think it was I low like 30, 40 times for like 200-something yards. And maybe maybe Vancouver figured out they had to do something to beef up that front seven and decided to add a third linebacker to compete with teams like that in their division.
And Nate, let's finish up with you. Your former ball club 2 seasons ago, they get a linebacker. Does this surprise you at all?
No, it really doesn't surprise me at all because I thought it might be a black belt coming off the board, but you look at the list of linebackers that were left available, and Fields was the top-rated linebacker left in this draft. So the fact that they went linebacker to try to fill the hole that bracket left in the offseason doesn't surprise me at all. They went linebacker. Just got the person wrong, and congratulations to Fields the fourth on getting that pick.
I think we need a hair flip from Bryant Dynasty before the night is through. We missed it earlier. I think we need a hair flip from Mr. Dynasty before we get through tonight's draft, as his ball club, the Atlanta Swarm, is on the clock. The Swarm, season 15 champions, needing to find their way back into the championship game, have been a solid team even throughout the changes in these past couple of seasons, looking for a couple of spots. They have 4 picks tonight. Eddie, let's go back to you for Atlanta. Maybe a tight end to back up Jamal Wooding, but it looks like most of their needs are on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and they lost their third linebacker this past season to Jacksonville. You know, I talk to Mark pretty much every day, but he keeps stuff like this close to the vest. Only people who really know are perhaps him and his front office. So who knows? But I'm guessing they're looking to fulfill that third linebacker spot that they lost when Garrett Huston left them to go to Jacksonville. So my guess is a linebacker here as well.
And a couple linebackers are off the board. We saw Bogey Barr go earlier. Declan O'Rourke is now off the board. Nathaniel Diggs, Earl Fields IV just came off the board for Vancouver. So 4 linebackers are gone. Ethan Muslin. Of those that remaining, it seems like Tazzy Blackwell is the obvious choice, especially at outside linebacker. But we can not forget maybe Forrest Dalton or Matt Anderson, possibly.
And that was exactly where I had put them in the mock. I had chosen Forrest Dalton as the linebacker for Atlanta, but Tazzy would be a good choice as well. I think this would be the first thing that Atlanta needs to do. They need to shore up that front seven, get themselves a good front set. You know, their secondary is all squared away. The third linebacker is really all they need on the defense. It's entirely possible that we might see an O lineman go off the board here as well. They add another run blocker for Hollywood and for Mitch O'Brien. That might be a good way to go. So this should be an interesting way to see how things develop. But it's like I'm thinking if it's not Tazzy Blackwell or Forrest Dalton for the linebacker, don't be surprised if a lineman comes in.
Still no hair flip from Bryant Dynasty. Come on, man. Oh, all right. We move on to an imposter, it appears. I think that's Chisholm over there with a nice memorabilia from Mark Chisholm. Thank you. Aye. Names and faces are so hard, especially trying to remember them all. Nate Hall, let's go to you for Atlanta with under a minute to go. This will probably be the last few minutes to go ahead and get something going here for Atlanta. Where are they headed?
I think Tazzy Blackwell is the obvious choice. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. It'd be a tragedy if no Blackwells were picked in this first round at all, as well as they played and as much as they're in the chat in every minor league game this season, supporting each of their respective ball clubs. Tazzy Blackwell is the obvious choice, but I think if they want to throw us for a curveball, Juan Mississippi might be a linebacker they go for right here.
All right, we'll see who the boys in the Swarm, the blue and green, came up with. We go back to Cameron Irvine for pick number 20 of this season's draft.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 20th pick of the season 18 SFL rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select Diamond Blackwell, outside linebacker. Arizona has forfeited their pick. They will not be picking 21st. No, just kidding. 21st pick, Arizona. You're on the clock.
Oh, boy. I'm already in trouble with Chisholm over over there at the next
Oh, boy.
convention. I cannot wait to see when they have them start. But it's a Blackwell. It's Diamond Blackwell coming off the board as Eddie. We're going to let him go ahead and take care of pick number 21 for Arizona. Ethan and Nate, and probably just us three for a little bit, but Ethan, Diamond Blackwell, solid linebacker, goes to Atlanta.
I was sweating over here,
Yeah, it's a great pick. Diamond Blackwell from Boise, seven tackles for loss, 3 deflections, and responsible for 1.5 sacks on the year. A little on the low side, but still a very solid linebacker. I really thought it was going to be the other Blackwell. I thought it was going to be Arizona, but as Eddie is squealing with delight right now. Oh my goodness! He thinks he's very happy about the next opportunity coming up. So, but no, this is
dude. I was praying. I was just hoping that you opened my phone didn't ring, and it was you on the end saying, "Hey man, so and so just called me up to pick me up."
I don't think Eddie can hear us at the moment. He's too busy engrossed in whoever he's got on the other end of his line. Nate, let's go back to you for.
All right, well, I'm gonna hang up and
this next selection for Arizona as we wrap up Diamond Blackwell. Let's wrap up Diamond Blackwell real quick. What did impress you about Diamond?
Yeah, Diamond is just such a dynamic linebacker, able to cause havoc on opposing offenses. Just able to spy on the quarterback. She can even be anywhere on the field. She can be there, covering a tight end, getting a tackle for loss on a running back, or even getting a sack on that quarterback. So, but more importantly than that, though, she alongside her sister, just great in the locker room, great in the chats during their game, supporting their squad, their respective squads. I always see them in the chat for their games. And just exciting to see her get chosen in this first round. Looking forward to seeing what she does in Atlanta this season.
Okay, Ethan, back to you as Eddie Gage. It seems like he's wrapped up his phone call. Pick might be coming in faster than we can expect. But Ethan, Arizona, team that looked fairly strong throughout the entire season, made some noise in the playoffs. Where are they headed with their first pick of the draft?
It could be one of any 3 spots right now for Arizona. They could fill up that third linebacking spot. They could get a fullback if they want to add something for DJ Moses. Their front line is all set on both ends. So all they really need to do is either get a third linebacker to fill out the front 7, or get perhaps here's the thing. If you're looking at offense, you have a decision to make. Do you take a fullback and help with DJ Moses the second, or do you get another wide receiver so that Ashley Jackson has another target to run to? So that's kind of an interesting choice. If they have nothing to worry about, but so it's just a case of, okay, what do we really need right now? And I think for me, it's a linebacker, and with Diggs and Diamond off the board, maybe this is where they go to Forrest.
And I think with both Hands brothers taken off the board, or off the club, I should say, at the last possible second, I might say, in the offseason, that was a big blow to Eddie. We know how much it hurt him personally. But Nate Hall, would they possibly go 4th wide receiver to maybe back up TJ Punk, Owens, and Weston?
No, I think Eddie's reaction said it all when Atlanta chose Diamond Blackwell with their pick. The fact that Eddie was so jubilantly excited because Diamond is the one that was chosen, I think he was so excited because that left Tazzy Blackwell still available on the board. And they do have that opening for linebacking spot on that Arizona ball club on that defense. I think right here is where Eddie picks up Tazzy Blackwell and snatches her up before anybody else can grab her.
That could be a great pick, and we'll let Eddie continue to go through discussions in his war room as we go back to Ethan real quick, as the clock has stopped, unfortunately. So that time is to be determined. But the pick for Arizona is probably on the horizon. Ethan, let's go to you. Probably not a wide receiver is what Nate is saying. Defensive back is what you're saying. If it's a curveball, and if we're trying to read into maybe what Ashley Jackson is saying, and she said maybe a woman, is it maybe Tazzy, or maybe is it maybe, I wouldn't even say kicker because Arizona has Cliff Allen there, but maybe Brooke Beisel at punter? I don't know.
If Ashley's talking about bringing a woman in for Arizona, that does leave Isabella available as well. So you have two other Blackwells on the board. Isabella might be the one who goes, so that could be a possibility. I'm not really seeing anything else like for a fullback, at least not that I can remember. I mean, I can probably look over the rosters real quick and actually be smart about it, but by the looks of it, I think this is probably going to be an Isabella pick.
All right, is another Blackwell coming off the board. Our Blackwell's going back to back. Cameron Irvine has the answer.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 21st pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Arizona Scorpions select by Felicia. Is that? Yeah, that's not a pick, Eddie. That's not. Oh, my bad. Wrong one. Turiano Rivera, fullback. 22nd pick, Mexico City. You're on the clock.
It's a fullback for Eddie Gage, and let's talk to the man himself in Arizona. Eddie, what caught your attention about Rivera?
He's still muted.
I apologize, Eddie. He might be still server muted. So we'll come back to Eddie Gage as we figure that all out. Ethan, Turiano Rivera for Arizona helps tremendously in the blocking department, both passing and run game.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a great fullback for San Jose. Really helped their new running back JZ Bacon help him out in the last few games of the season. It's a really good pick, and kind of what we were talking about. Just like are they if they don't pick defense, where's their offensive choices going to be? Were they going to go for a fullback or wide receiver? Wide receiver is not really kind of a tertiary choice, really. So going fullback was a really good choice, and they're going to really help back up Moses on the run game and help protect Ashley Jackson on the passing game.
Okay, now let's hear from the man himself, Eddie Gage. Take it away, my friend.
Yo, what up, yo, Arizona? Yo, the Hands brothers retired to the last minute. I got to thank Ashley Jackson, the best GM on the planet Earth, for helping us out, man, because, man, I was over here sweating. I'm like, oh, damn, they go our chances for a championship. Ashley went and found two guys in retirement. Ashley, you the best GM on the planet. Yo, thank you so much. But, yo, DJ been asking me for a fullback for a long time. We got one. He had to retire because of real life stuff going on in his life. It was unfortunate. But, man, we interviewed a lot of great candidates, and there was a lot of great people on the board. But unfortunately, only one of them could promise us the ability to help Mark Miller with the stats. And I don't know if you guys, if the word came out about the stats coming up and the need to cover them without being penalized and all that stuff. But I'm like, yo, we can't just rely on Mark Miller. We got to get that brother some help, even though he loves doing it. I got to have a backup plan. This brother stepped up and said, yo, I got stats, man, because we was looking all over the place. And he was available and he excited, man. I'm like, yo, what do you want to do? He said, man, all I want to do is go out there, catch a pass once every 2 or 3 weeks, but I just want to blow up whoever in front of me. And when he said that, I'm like, bro, you move straight to the top of our draft board. That and the fact you're doing stats. Ashley Jackson, I love you. Great job, Ashley. Great job, DJ. Great job, Jay Hayden. Y'all watch out for Jay Hayden. That brother is coming. He is hungry. And yo, Arizona, we coming back, y'all. We gonna get this thing done. I'm so hyped up. Yo, welcome to the squad, Rivera. Yo, we gonna get this thing going, and I can't wait for the season to start.
Eddie could talk.
SFL Nation is coming. We coming, y'all.
Eddie could talk.
I can't really tell. Eddie, are you excited?
Yo, man, I'm hyped, dog. Sorry.
Eddie could talk all night about Arizona. He definitely loves them. The semifinalists, or one of the two semifinalists, get their guy in Rivera at fullback. And the other semifinalists who fell late on in that semifinal game to Baltimore, the Aztecs are on the clock here with pick number 22. We only got 3 picks left here in the first round, ladies and gentlemen. Nate, let's talk about these Aztecs. They're in your Tex-Mex division down there in the South. Aztecs, just a piece or two away possibly from holding off the Vultures.
And it looks like they've got some holes though to fill on this offense. They don't have any offensive linemen, so that may be where they go here with this pick. They do have a third wide receiver spot open currently. So I think if they went offense right here to help out Matt Wilson and Phoenix Jones, I think they look for a wide receiver, and they wouldn't need to look any further because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mike Savage is still on the board, and he's the highest rated wide receiver still left on this wide receiving core from the minor leagues. So I think Savage is where they go here.
You are correct saying Savage is still on the board, and that'd be a couple of big shoes to fill, especially since Fox Highwind left for greener pastures across the pond over in London as we take a live look inside the war room in Mexico City. Ethan, let's go to you for the Aztecs. A lot of holes to fill, 2 on the defensive line, a wide receiving spot to throw, and oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Mr. Ramos Lynn has a tattoo of the Aztec logo on his chest. That is sheer dedication. Right. All right, Ethan, go ahead and take it away. Where are the Aztecs headed?
The Aztecs have a lot of, as Nate said, they need offensive linemen. They need a third wide receiver. Defense is a big concern right now for Mexico City. They need defensive linemen. They need that third linebacker. They need that nickel corner. So I think they really need to fill those. They need to fill those spots as quickly as possible because although thinking about it, with a lot of offensive players going off the board really quickly, this might be a continuation of the run on offense. So I kind of agree with Nate. Wide receiver might not be a bad pick. I had picked Oren Darby for wide receiver, so that might be a better value play. But in my mock, I had for Mexico, I had Sam Yeager taking the defensive end spot. So maybe fill up those lines first and then build up from there.
All right, we'll see where the boys from south of the border have gone to. It's over to Cameron Irvine with the call.
Thanks, Tyler. Saw a lot of people saying clip that on Ramos showing off his tattoo. Let us know on social media at Simulation FL what was the most clippable moment tonight. We'll try to put together a few of those moments. With the 22nd pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Angela Meerkat, defensive end. Florida is on the clock with the 23rd selection.
I like this pick, gentlemen. I like Angela Meerkat going to Mexico City. She's a very explosive defensive end. Eddie talked a little bit more about Miss Meerkat.
Another great personality in the SFL minor leagues, and she's going to be a great personality up in that Mexico City locker room. You can see her right there, perhaps with her husband. I don't know. I'm not sure, but sorry, apologies. But apologies, but yeah, I mean, she's a great personality. She's super excited. You can see her in chat all the time, talking about her team and rooting everyone on. And Mexico City had a need, because Dan Trish was getting a lot of attention on that defensive line. And this is going to feel a great need. I thought they may go wide receiver here, but they couldn't go wrong either way, whether it be that third wide receiver or filling that hole on that defensive line. And she's going to be a great fit for that Mexico City franchise. He's playing for one of the classiest owners in this league, and I couldn't be more proud of her.
Absolutely. Nate Hall, let's go to you. It's a very formidable opponent you've got there in Mexico City. They just keep adding pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah, she's going to be a great fit on that defensive line. Looking to plug up holes for running back. So we're going to have our hands full trying to break McBride open for bigger runs up the middle when we face them this season. But we'll be ready for them. But she'll be doing great things though for sure in season 18 there and for the Aztecs.
And Ethan, finally for you, for Angela Meerkat, great personality off the field, some tremendous athleticism on the field.
Yeah, she's done a fantastic job. Looking at her stats real quick from 9 games, 16 tackles, seven solo, 9 assisted. So she's always there to lend a hand. Contributed 2 tackles for losses. That can not the highest on the board, obviously, but again, those things can always be improved. Always be making positive moves. It's kind of interesting because I had Angela going around in this time, but like the first pick in round 2, switching over to tackle. So the fact that she's able to keep her spot on the defensive end is a great job on Mexico City's part to get her in there.
All right, as we now move on to Florida, and already Mighty in chat saying, he's got his picking on his end, and so we'll give it to one person only, and maybe that'll give us enough time to get us to the pick here for Florida. We give it to Eddie Gage, Florida. Again, runners up in the SFL championships. These, it's just not they just couldn't find a way past Baltimore and snag their 4th championship since going on that dominant run in Alaska. Where does Florida need to improve with this pick in order to get back into the championship?
They lost Eric Hammer, their linebacker, in free agency. They currently have Stephen Black on the roster, but I think they have to give him some help. Mighty doesn't necessarily value linebackers as much as I do per se, but I think he has to go there with this pick. Or perhaps he gets a 4th offensive lineman, which would be pretty impressive. I'm sure Bullet Valesky would love that pick, so we'll see.
Okay, and I thought Eddie would talk just a little bit longer, but we're going to go to Nate Hall to add on to me, it seems like linebacker is their one and only pick this draft.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you here. And I was looking at the way Florida built their team compared to how much cap space they have left. They only have 57 points remaining on their remaining salary before they hit cap. And the only linebacker that is at that level of cap space is Jared Partridge from Annapolis. I think they go with Jared here with this pick without cutting. They could go Mississippi here and cut a little bit of his salary off and try to rebuild it through the season. But I think they go with Jared Partridge here with this pick.
So Nate Hall picking Partridge, maybe Partridge and a pear tree in Florida. But we go to Ethan now, as we still have a little bit of time here before the pick arrives, and the pick does arrive. But we'll get Ethan's thoughts real quickly on Florida.
Yeah, I had them going with 1 Mississippi. It's probably the best way for them to get a good player. You don't have to cut too much off his contract. You'd have to bring it down to about like a 57.2 or something like that. So that wouldn't be too hard to negotiate, and I think that would be a great pick for 1 Mississippi.
All right, let's go to the Commissioner Cameron Irvine for the penultimate pick here in this first round.
Thank you, Tyler. With the 23rd pick of the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the ladies just keep balling at the end of the first round. Adrian Blaine, strong safety. The defending champion, Baltimore Vultures, have the last pick of the first round, pick 24. You're on the clock.
It is not a linebacker. It's Adrian Blaine getting the call from Mighty in the war room. Eddie Gage, talk to me a little bit more about Blaine and why Mighty would go with the strong safety rather than backing up only 1 linebacker.
Of all the teams in the SFL in the minor leagues, Madison is one of them that I tend to follow a lot between them and Memphis. And Blaine was a great character person for them as well. I didn't quite see all their games toward the end, mainly towards Memphis because that's what Jay was playing. But the game, I can't remember who they were playing, but on one particular play, I remember her showing great closing speed. And I said, wow, I didn't realize how much closing speed players in the minors could have these days. But with the way they're allowed to progress these games, I guess that's going to be a thing of the past, because she showed me something on that particular play. And I just remember making a mental note of that and saying, wow, she's going to be a benefit at the next level if they allow her to perhaps play, a secondary position, perhaps not as a starter, and then, allow her to develop. And it looks like Florida's going to do just that. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised with the pick either, because he tends to go with those untraditional 3-3 sets and not playing 4-3 and all that kind of stuff. And with only one linebacker on the roster, I'm assuming that's going to continue to be the case. But she found a great home in Florida because they have top-notch ownership and great coaches over there too.
Okay. Nate, we heard about the mentality of the pick. Let's hear a little bit about the player, Adrian Blaine.
Yeah, Adrian Blaine, just a ball hawk on that Madison defense. She came away with a pick yesterday, I believe, one of the 4 picks that was thrown by Usman there in that championship game. Just a great, great defensive member there for the Lynx. You got to watch out for her because she could snatch one at any time on that defense. So great player, great personality, just an overall great person. And so with Florida picking her up, I would look for them to run a lot of 4-1-6 dime packages next season with 6 defensive backs. So look for that next season from that Florida squad.
Very good call, Mr. Nate Hall. All right. Let's move on to the final pick of this first round, and it's the defending champion Baltimore Vultures. And these guys seem to always have way too many weapons on their squad, and they could add a couple extra now that the rosters have expanded. So, Ethan Muslin, Baltimore on the clock. Do you give Jack Whitmore yet another wide receiver to throw to? Mike Savage is still on the board. I think it would be a fantastic steal for the Vultures.
Yeah, Savage would be a good pick. Let's see. Yeah, they got 2 available. 127 in cap. So you're talking about an average of about 60 and change per person. It's if they do that, they are going to have to really undercut him, and I don't think Savage would agree to that. This might be what they might do right now is just maybe go for an O lineman and see what they can afford afterwards for their second and final pick. Maybe go for like a lower tier wide receiver. Maybe go for a second tight end later in the rounds. But I think what they really need to do is address their offensive line right now.
All right, Nate, back to you. Offensive line is the call from Ethan. Do you agree or disagree?
I would have to tend to agree with that. Moose Mitchell is still there with a 52 value. Like Ethan said, just see what kind of value you have left after picking up that offensive lineman. If they do, Eddie mentioned them at the very beginning of this. Ducky Day is still out there at wide receiver. So is this where we see him picked up? Is in the first round going to Baltimore? That would definitely be something to see him go in the first round after switching positions. But if it's not offensive lineman, I see Dougie Day going right here.
Maybe a couple people in chat saying tight end as well. So offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, Eddie Gage. You have the final word before we go to Baltimore's pick.
Baltimore, just looking at their roster, it's almost unfair, man. I remember when their third corner was maybe their number 2 corner. I can't remember. He left the team at the season's end. And I'm like, well, finally, the rest of the league gets a chance to compete. And sure enough, what do they do but bring Elijah Warfield out of retirement? I mean, come on, man. I mean, give us a chance, Baltimore. I played you guys week 9, I believe, this season. And it's just playmakers all over the place. But I look forward to it. But I know in player openings, they posted a couple of times they were looking for offensive linemen, and they were also looking for a tight end too. So that's going to be my guess. They're going to get a tight end too or an offensive lineman. I'm surprised that offensive lineman is still even on the board. So that's why I go from Baltimore.
I was almost sure that we were going to have a run on offensive linemen before the first round was even over.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. You weren't the only one, Ethan. And a lot of those mock drafts just got thrown out the window with these picks. We go to number 24. The defending champions pick is in. Cameron Irvine with the call.
You know, before we leave tonight, I must say, I was thinking about Eddie's absolutely fantastic reaction to the pick. And I thought, how much money would I pay to watch Eddie walk into a Bed Bath & Beyond and do the same energy about towels and just hype up the whole place? Like, how much money would I think I would pay at least 3 figures. Like, I would want to be there. And on that note, Ethan, you are some kind of professional, and I'm going to need that same kind of energy. With the 24th pick in the SFL Season 18 rookie draft, the Baltimore Vultures select John Michael Sudduth at tight end. That concludes round 1. Round 2 kicks off at 5 Eastern on New Year's Day. We hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve tomorrow, everyone. We'll see you at 5 Eastern. The boys will wrap up. And from the SFL studios, we thank you for watching the rookie draft tonight. John Michael Sudduth caps off the first round.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Irvine. Mr. Ethan Muslin, your player, Michael Sudduth, gets the call from the champion Vultures. Take it away, my friend.
Oh, Cousin John, the Alabama Abrams going to the champs. I had to keep it under my hat a little bit because I knew it was either going to be them or it was going to be Portland. But I am excited. I'm very happy to be part of a great team, a great group of guys up in the front office. I'll be honest, JMS didn't have that great run during the season. He was 22 of 32, 222 yards, never found the end zone. Hopefully that changes come season 18. But Cousin John, let's see you out there in Baltimore.
All right, Nate. On John Michael Sudduth, JMS, it's another weapon for Wigmore to throw to.
Yeah, and as if Wigmore need any more weapons on that fired up offense for Baltimore, they're just going to come back more even stronger than they did last season. Definitely going to be another team to contend with again this coming season over there in Baltimore. Right back in the playoffs where they left off, I'm sure. Still got the dynamic wide receiving core over there, and now just adding a dynamic tight end to his weapon list. It's going to be tough to stop, but congratulations to Sudduth on that pick.
Okay, Eddie Gage, you're going to have the final word for the panelists tonight. Give your thoughts on Michael Sudduth and the entirety of this first round.
Michael Sudduth reminds me of a great tight end that Tulsa has in Jason France. The guy is 6'7". I mean, you talk about no one's open. Somehow, some way, no one on Baltimore can get open. Just throw it to him and let him catch it at the highest point. And a 50-50 ball becomes suddenly an 80-20 ball. I mean, come on, Baltimore. You guys need to stop cheating over there. You figure something out, and you won't share the recipe with the rest of us. But that's okay. Because we got a challenge for us. I believe it's week 9 and week whatever heck it is. I don't even know. But man, Baltimore. I mean, talk about the rich getting richer like Florida did back in season 14 draft. But come on, man, give us a chance. A great pickup though.
And just like that will conclude matters tonight. The first round is in the books. It was heavily favored by the offense earlier, and defense showed up late to the party. A lot of surprises, a lot of thrills and spills tonight. For Ethan Muslin, Nate Hall, Eddie Gage, and the Commissioner Cameron Irvine, I've been Tyler Falk. This has been a presentation of the Simulation Football League presented by 8 p.m. Music. We've got more action coming in the new year. We will see you then for round 2 and beyond. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Arizona, I love y'all. Let's go, man.